Good evening, everybody. So we are going to go right in, because we already started the meeting at 5:30. Oh, here's our attorney. And we have some swearing in, so we're going to start with those first.
Well, I didn't know how you wanted to do it, so I started with sergeant, lieutenant, and then captain, so you go that way. I assumed that was the order, so that's the way I put them. No problem.
All right, front and center, Matthew Tedesco, please. Sir. Congratulations. Who do you have coming up? That might be the youngest one over there.
Oh, yeah.
I state your name.
I, Matthew Tedesco,
Do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the
of
Constitution
the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith
that I bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established
government established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority
under the authority
of the people,
of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
justly perform
all the duties of
all the duties of
police sergeant
police sergeant
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
Allison, tell him to use the mic.
Forgot all about the mic, sorry. Step up, sir. Who do we have coming? Okay. Who's holding the Bible?
My son.
Okay. Just hold on to that. How are you? All righty. Left hand on the Bible. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Luis Dominguez,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state,
and of the state,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments
and to the government
established
established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority
under the authority
of the people,
of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of
all the duties of
police lieutenant
police lieutenant
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my
So
ability.
help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Great job. Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Ryan Weber, please come forward. Okay, who's holding? Okay. How are you? Congratulations. What's up, guys? Okay, are we ready? Okay. I state your name.
I, Ryan Weber,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the constitutions
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith
and I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in this state,
in this state,
I'm sorry, in the United States and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will
im-
faithfully
impartially,
and impartially
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of
all the duties of
police captain
police captain
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Great job. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Michael, would you care to say a few words?
City manager, mayor, and council, thank you for allowing these promotions to happen. It truly is vital for the health and morale of our organization to replenish the ranks as soon as possible. To our police officers, congratulations on your elevation of rank. It truly is an accomplishment for all of you. Ryan, you go above and beyond for everything that you do. You've taken the Detective Bureau and turned it into a premier unit within the state. You truly do lead by example. Lou Dominguez, the work that you've done for the youth of our city is immeasurable. And you started off as an SRO for our alma mater. Continue being you and being a role model for our children. Matt, you've grown leaps and bounds in the last 3 years. You're a dependable field training officer. Your work in community engagement, your compassion for those less fortunate is a trait that all police officers should have. So congratulations to everybody. And remember to lead with honor and to keep pushing our police department forward. Thank you. Ryan Weber and Lou Dominguez would like to say a couple words.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Thank you, Chief, City Manager. I'm going to continue to thank you for my family and friends for support all these years, and I'm going to continue to work hard for the residents of Hackensack and also for the members of the Hackensack Police Department. And congratulations, Lieutenant Dominguez and Sergeant Tedesco.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mayor, Council, City Manager. Special thanks to Chief Antista for believing in me and pushing this through. So I appreciate it. I want to say thank you to all my family, my wife, Pearl, Julie, and Zoe. Love you guys. My parents. I see a lot of people here that my coaches, Coach Gardner, Coach Taylor, Coach Whiting, mean a lot to me. Mean a lot to Hackensack. So thank you very much, and have a good night.
Thanks, just put up. Thanks, Mike. Council, Stephanie?
Congratulations. I know many of the police officers, well, sergeants and lieutenants that got promoted and captains. We appreciate everything you do especially the police officers that are in the schools. We appreciate, we know it's a lot going on in the schools, and we appreciate that you're there as role models for our students. Having 3 students, myself, in the school, you do a lot, and we're happy that you're there as mentors, not just to protect the students, but as mentors to guide them and make them, make the right decision, and hopefully one day follow in your footsteps. So we appreciate it. Congratulations. We're very lucky to have you all.
Of course, I echo the congratulations, and I thank not only the men here tonight, but all of the men in our police department for keeping our city safe, helping our residents when they're in time of need, and the many other things that we know you do for all of us each and every day. Of course, I heard about the detective division, and of course, everyone knows I have a special place in my heart for the detective division because it's where my husband lived for most of his 34 years on the Hackensack Police Department. So again, best of luck to all of you, and happy to see you furthering your careers.
Okay.
Congratulations to you guys. And for me, one of the more important people in the city is a police officer. We don't go nowhere, we don't have a safe city. So thank you again for your service, guys.
Congratulations to all of you. I know you put in a lot of hard work to get those promotions and continue keeping the city of Hackensack a very safe place. Again, congratulations to you and your families. God bless.
So to the three we just sworn in, best of luck to you guys. Just as Mike, Chief Antista said, we watch you on this journey. He's been keeping an eye on you as your other officers have as well, and you've all moved up the ranks and done it the right way. And Hackensack's proud of you, and looking forward to see you moving up further. So best of luck, guys. Stay healthy, stay safe, all right? Have a good journey. Thank you. All right, so we're going to start business. So we're going to take like a 5-minute recess because I know you guys don't want to hang out at the local council chambers. So have a good party tonight, guys.
Do they want any pictures?
If you want to take pictures, come on up, guys. We'll do some pictures first. Nobody could stand behind Dominguez. He's too tall. We're going to get you. We're just going to sit you down. You're still going to be taller than us.
You guys first.
Between the hats.
That's you?
Yes, Mayor, this is a traffic study that was done because some residents had asked for it, and the ordinance is being changed to allow resident parking only on High Street between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m.
Okay, that's it?
That's it.
All right.
Last but not least is a presentation by, oh, there he is, Ryan Restra, our project manager on the combined store and construction projects update.
Ryan, how are you? Good evening, everybody. Good evening.
Turn the switch on.
Good? Okay, we'll start off with just an overview of all the projects. Anderson drainage area, that's all complete, just some any outstanding punch list items. Johnson Park Fieldhouse. The Fieldhouse contractor is looking to mobilize July. The site utility work, the contractor is on site and shooting for next week to start the soil movement and removal to cut down to the elevation ahead of the Fieldhouse. Lot A and Atlantic Street Garage entrance work started last week, and that's progressing. Fashini Park Fields 8, 9, and 10. I believe that's on docket for this evening to be awarded. Kennedy Pump Station, the bond and ordinance was introduced. West of Rail, that's coming up. It's going to be in 2 phases. And then the last 3 paving items. Again, just the overview of the CSO separation project showing the areas that have been completed. And we can go to the next slide. This is a new one. It's Firehouse Engine 2 repairs to the apparatus floor. There's some concrete full depth repairs that need to be made. We had a pre-con this morning actually with the contractor, Boswell, and the fire department. When the contractor gets on site, it'll be 3 weeks approximately start to finish. The contractor is currently working on material submittals for approval, and we're ongoing coordination with the fire department to not disrupt services. As I mentioned, Johnson Park, the site utility contractor is on site. They've begun silt fence installation, and next week they're going to work on the soil aspect. Fashini Park Fields 8, 9, and 10. That project is going to be awarded this evening, and just a brief overview of what's included. The base bid included turf, fencing, utilities, new bleachers, new receptacles, dugout shelter, some trees, new pavement, concrete sidewalk, safety netting, and lighting field number 9. And then the alternates to be awarded are alternate 1, that's sports lighting for field 8, alternate 2, sports lighting for field 10, and alternate number 3 is batting tunnel. As mentioned earlier, Lot A, the project has started. They completed all the concrete work on the Atlantic Street Garage entrance off of Atlantic Street, and now they have shifted to be the north side of what was Seatown. Again, here's a list of paving projects that are currently, the design is currently underway with Neglia. DOT local aid, Kennedy Street from Hudson to East Wesley. City-funded roads, West Lookout, Burn to Dead End, West Anderson, Burn to Summit, Coolidge, Summit to the Dead End, McKinley, Kansas to Lodi, Davis, Maine to Summit, that's going to be listed as an alternate. And then we also have some Bergen CDBG funded roads, which includes South Newman, Lodi to the Dead End, DeWolf, Berry to East Passaic, and then Union Street, Meyer to Essex, that will also be listed as an alternate. This, I believe, is a carryover from last meeting, but grant application deadlines for DOT. will be July 1st, so we'll work on a submission. We typically go with municipal aid for paving projects. Just thinking about it, a couple roads I think would be Atlantic Street by the hospital or Vreeland Ave is kind of in rough shape, so that could be included. I could put together a list and for review. And then just public service announcement. If anybody has any like to report streetlight outages, you don't necessarily have to call the city hall, even though if you do, we'll walk you through the process or we'll submit it for you. But PSC&G has a website where you could report outages. And they also have a, which we listed on the city website, is a link to follow any construction in Hackensack related to new gas mains in the area. So if you type in your town or address, it'll pop up and let you know what's going on. And in addition, just another reminder, do not flush anything other than wipes, baby wipes, antibacterial wipes, or any kind of wipes down the toilets to keep our sewers clean and functioning properly.
Question?
I have a couple. Do you have any? All right, going back to the utility work at Johnson Park.
Yes.
Right. We've secured roughly $2 million to be coming in from redevelopment people towards, it was, our purpose was to have it for a greenhouse.
Okay.
And that money will be coming in hopefully to the Open Space Trust Fund, and then we're hoping that the new council will continue to support it. The greenhouse is something many people are waiting for.
Yeah.
My concern with the utilities is let's just make sure that we're prepared, that all the utility work is there in place for the location where this greenhouse is supposed to go. Because the worst thing that could happen is, you know, everything gets done and then we're ready to do the greenhouse and we have to open everything back up again.
Yeah,
All right,
sure,
so
we'll-
let's
we'll
just
coordinate.
take a look at where we, you know, I think we were going to build it modularly, you know, so
Okay.
we were going to maybe do one building and then addition to it when we have more money.
Okay.
So let's just make sure that that utility work is in the right place and,
Yeah.
and everything is ready for when we're ready to go with that. And then the other thing, you talked yeah, a little bit about the bond ordinance tonight, and I believe it's because it's the two pumps that are, some part of it is the two pumps.
For Kennedy Street.
Kennedy Street,
Yes.
right. Now, everything else that we need for Kennedy, the new grates and rakes and all of that has already been purchased, or it's on its way?
It's included in that bond.
All right, so everything, all the other, well, the generator's in, right?
Generator's in, correct.
Okay.
That's
And-
online, yes.
Okay, so the generator's online, so everything else that you went down there again and you spoke with them?
Yes.
I've been down there to speak with them?
Yep, so
Right.
it's the two pumps, the two main large pumps, and then we're, have a plan for smaller pumps for smaller storms and to de-water the wet well. Improvements to the station itself, the exterior, and then the bypass out in Kennedy Street. And,
So the funding
rakes.
for tonight should cover everything that we
Yes.
need to get that done, all right? Because we're committed to making sure that happens. And then are there any other pumps now that we haven't gotten to yet that need to be refurbished or replaced?
Broses. There's
Okay.
one pump there that needs work, but that's similar to Kennedy where it has three pumps, but it only operates on
used to.
two, so one's the backup, so, but.
And is it the same thing with the equipment being old, like the rakes and
Yes.
Everything really
Yeah,
needs to be
that
replaced?
doesn't have the rakes. It does have a screen to keep the floatables out, but it does not have the automated rakes like.
Well, maybe it does need it, right?
So that, yes, that's something
Yeah.
to look into, and then it's, like I said, it's similarly designed to Kennedy with the three pumps, so.
Okay, so then that's would be the last piece that we have not
Yes,
bonded
yeah,
for.
Mercer Stormwater Station, that had improvements a few years ago. As far as stormwater, that's it, and then we have, you know, the screening facilities need some work as well.
Okay.
Voorhees is okay.
Okay, so just one more segment left.
Yes.
CFO is sitting there, so we're gonna have to eventually, hopefully, they'll eventually tackle that as well. Okay, thanks, those are my questions.
Anybody else?
Yes. Does the Recreation Department have the latest layout of the Fashini Park fields as well as the dome?
I believe they do, but if not, I will send that over.
Can you please
Yep.
verify that they have the latest layout of those two facilities, please?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome.
Leo?
No, I have nothing to say. I was there
So-
I was there in the meeting this morning.
I just want to make sure that we've reached out to the head of the garden club and, you know, because we had some issues
Yes.
on social media. I saw that they couldn't get down there. the
Yeah, I
city was
did. I did
closed.
see that post. It's kind of tricky with the proximity of the construction area to
Yeah.
the greenhouse right now. So we kind of barricade it to where we're directing people to the normal gate.
Right.
You know, temporarily until we could install another gate or have another access along the road that's outside of the construction area.
I know I had seen somebody say to park in Sears lot and walk over, but I'd rather see them park in the Johnson Park lot and walk instead of crossing that street. So if we
Yeah,
can-
understood, it's
if
just,
we can
that
get
gravel
them
lot,
down on
that's the
I'm sorry, John, but
construction area.
what I call Sears parking lot is
Right.
the parking lot right by the playground. So if they park there, they can walk.
Yeah,
They don't
that's
have
the
to
one.
cross the street.
No, that's where one of the park.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
don't
Yeah,
want
no,
on that
this,
side of the
this,
street.
yeah, the Sears lot on the Johnson Park side. yes.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's where they could
I
park.
don't want them walking across the street.
No,
No, that's our lot now, right?
Yeah.
That belongs.
You have to start calling it the city lot.
yes.
Yeah.
It's no longer the Sears lot. We are able to
Yes,
purchase that.
that's our lot.
Yeah.
So, with that, that's all I had.
Okay.
Thanks, Ron.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yep, you're welcome.
Okay, with that, I need a motion to open to the public, please.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed? Anyone from the public who would like to speak, please come forward to the microphone, give your name to the clerk, and you will have 3 minutes. Leo, you have the clock ready back there?
Good evening, Marty Smith, Prospect Avenue.
Sir?
At the last council meeting, we requested that the council consider installing crosswalks on Anderson Street at Union on both the east and west sides of Union Street, and also suggested that a crosswalk be installed on Anderson on the east side of the railroad tracks to accommodate pedestrians who will be coming from the new building that's just coming online and will be using that train station for travel. So I'm wondering if the city council has made any decision on that?
That was supposed to go to traffic when you was here last time.
meeting. Allison, do you know if that was given to traffic? Nothing back from them. All right, it was given to them, we didn't get anything.
So traffic has to do their study, then they would report back to us, you know.
Okay. Next item I'd like to bring to your attention is a situation that we have at the intersection of Passaic and Linden and Passaic at First Street, particularly during rush hours. Traffic that is traveling southbound on Linden and making a right turn onto Passaic to go westbound has to wait at a traffic light at First Street and Passaic for the duration of the train's approach to the station, the time the train is in the station, and the train's departure from the station. There's absolutely no reason why westbound traffic has to stand on Passaic Street that's moving away from the railroad crossing at Railroad and Passaic Street. Traffic is backing up onto Linden, sometimes as far back as at Anderson Street. So, you know, there should be some way of the light cycle being changed to accommodate westbound traffic moving away from the railroad crossing and not have to stand there.
But you can make a right in Linden into Passaic going up west.
That's for westbound traffic.
The light at First Street stops them from going and it gets backed up, because it doesn't change until the train is gone, even though it's going the opposite
Yeah, but
direction.
the light in First Street and Passaic, that go to green, and the
No.
people they
It
gonna.
won't go, it doesn't
No?
go to green, it
That's
stays
no
red.
good. I
Yeah,
know.
no, I agree with you on
Yeah.
that. So that's county there.
We've talked about this before, you're
It's
right.
a county road.
That's county there, so Danny, we have to talk to the county on that,
Yes.
about changing that, at least the westbound light
Change the
has to
light,
release to allow traffic through. Makes total sense, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else from the public, please?
That's only a couple of minutes.
Good evening. Arlene Scarter, Simons Avenue. This is also in regard to a light cycle issue. This is Polyfly Road, that entrance to get onto Route 80. The light in front of the Hilton Hotel, that light is out of sync with the light for the cars exiting 80. Trying to make that left turn to get onto Route 80 in the mornings because the light at the Hilton is still green. while the light behind us is red, and the cars just, there's no mercy for us to try to make that left turn to get onto Route 80. So just for the council to consider having syncing of the lights, so that we can safely make that left turn to get onto Route 80 in the
I
morning.
was on last night going to the Hilton. And
Yeah.
that whole area, the way that's set up is
Yes.
problematic because you're in that left lane, you don't know that it turns into a left turn only. So then you're stopped trying to get into the right lane, and you're blocking all the people behind. So
Right.
it's problematic
Yeah,
besides
the
it being
traffic
out of sync.
coming towards us,
Right.
there's no mercy. They give no quarter.
So this is another county road, which we have to go to the county for
Okay.
and have them look into this and see if we can come up with
I
something.
believe that
there.
light is actually in
Hasbrook, the light's in
jurisdiction.
Hasbrook Heights.
Oh, that's their light.
Yeah, because,
The Hilton is the Hasbrook Heights.
777 Polyfly is Hasbrook Heights, right across the street from the Hilton. But it's something we can work through that. We'll
Please, I
figure it out.
greatly appreciate. Thank you.
We can reach out to them? Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, Council. Marlene Somerville. So I'm here in my role as Chair of the Hackensack Environmental Commission. And we had our meeting last week, and there was a couple of questions that have rolled over. The first question being, who on the council is the representative for the HEC, the Green Team, or the Shade Tree Commission? Because there was a conversation about not being able to facilitate smoothly, transition or conversations between not coming to a council meeting and having a conversation because there was not a council representative. And since I came on after Jenny Lynn, I wasn't sure as to who was assigned as a council representative, if one was assigned.
Well, to the Shade Tree, Councilman Carroll is the Shade Tree representative, so he attends all of their meetings, so I don't think, right, Jerry?
Correct.
Yeah.
Whenever they invite me, I attend.
All right, so I'll follow up with that with Josh for Shade Tree, just to make sure that, there is understanding. But there was a question as to who from the council, reason being, there was a conversation before that I spoke to Vince about and the COO, right, about whether or not these advisory commissions could have a line item on the budget about financing. There is a couple of initiatives that we have, right? So beyond the stuff that we're doing for the rain garden, there is the stuff about planting. Thank you very much for the money that you guys gave from the cannabis sale that you guys donated to Shade Tree. That was appreciated. But there is the environmental resource inventory that they wanted to do. There is a stuff for sustainable, the sustainable certification that we need to go through. There is stuff that has to do with Bergen Hub and our coordination efforts with other towns and municipalities about whether or not we can do styrofoam collection or all of those things come at a cost. We have to go for grant funding every single time we have to do an initiative. That itself is time consuming, right? You apply for the grants, but there's also a time period that you need to wait to get that funding back before you can move forward. So how, as an understanding, it is an advisory committee, but how can we move forward to say that there is a line item for small, simple things that we can do? And for the lawyer, is there a way for us to merge those three committees into one instead of them being three separate? That was conversation. If we can have HEC
Because
be
it's
the
hard to get
parent.
enough people to staff them as three independent.
Yeah,
So
as
like
three
she's saying, a lot of times all of them will meet together
We
because
keep
they
our
share a
meetings
lot
together.
of
There's not enough
resources.
people
Yeah,
for,
they share a lot
and
of
you
resources.
can't get enough people to join.
I mean, we've had this problem, with the rent control board, with getting enough people.
But this would just be merging the three so they have a decent
Yeah.
number
Yeah,
of
so-
people.
I mean, it probably would require, I'd have to look at the code at how it's set up. It'd probably require an ordinance. The challenge would be, with only one meeting left, this council cannot introduce, tonight's the last night unless there's a
Right,
special meeting to introduce any new ordinances, because after first reading, at the meeting on June 24th, a new council will take effect on July 1st, and you have to start from scratch. You can't have one council introduce an ordinance and a new council vote on it.
So that's probably something for the new council to consider in
Yeah.
July.
But it's something we have to probably re-bring up. But the way it's always worked is all of the boards, as you mentioned, are just advisory boards. So, and the Environmental Commission has done this before. When they need to have funding, or they come here and they speak at the Committee of the Whole, they present a proposal for what they need, and our CFO's sitting right here, and that's usually the way it works. Like, I don't think we have any board, Jim, right, that has a budget to make those types of decisions, because they're not decision-making boards. So I think that's the process that we've always followed, and I think it's worked very smoothly, and they've been able to secure a great number of grants.
We have, right? And but it takes a lot of time. And in some instances, they're small enough tasks that, they're not monies. It's not a large sum of monies. We're asking for maybe a $350 to initiate something, instead of having to go out and apply for a grant for $350, $350 to be able to get that funding. You're asking for what kind of a line item, if any, you can secure.
Yeah, I mean, again, as
Well,
Steve
with
said.
the cannabis money, that should be
Well, that's-
shared amongst the three
Yeah,
if they
that-
join
right.
together, and that's where you could, I mean, you have some drawdown cash now with that fund. I know it's designated for trees, but if it's environmentally involved, I think it could be
Yeah.
shared equally.
Why not? Why not look into
Yeah.
that? And, for the advisory boards too, I mean, all of us have boards that we participate in. Maybe Jerry, maybe you didn't realize this, but we don't wait to be invited. We go to every meeting. I mean, that's the way they work. So we'll make sure that, or I hope the new people will make sure that there's attendance at the meetings, so
Okay.
you have that.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Next person, please. Seeing no members, motion to close.
Offer.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, so we'll be back at about 15 minutes.
Yep.
Oh, well, sorry. Steve first.
Yeah, if we don't need to go back into closed session, we did have a closed executive session as usual. We did talk about a number of cases very briefly, but significantly, we did talk about two cases, both of which were very positive results. One is the JA Visual lawsuit. This was a multi-million-dollar lawsuit brought as a result of flooding after Storm Ida. And a property had a couple $1 million worth of damage, and said that the city sewer system should be responsible. We successfully achieved summary judgment on that last week, which means their case is dismissed, obviously subject to appeals. The other case we talked about at length is the litigation involving, or if you remember, the 64 Prospect police officers and the incident where 5 of them engaged in an illegal warrantless search back in 2016. 2 of those officers were returned to duty, and then they were once again removed by the appellate division and filed an appeal with the Supreme Court of New Jersey. And just yesterday, the Supreme Court of New Jersey dismissed that appeal, which concludes that matter that has been going on since 2016. So a couple of very, very positive litigation results that we talked about in closed session. We also did talk about other litigation. We talked about the ongoing ZISA litigation and other police litigation involving the city.
Thank you. So I need a motion to close the executive session.
Offer.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. Motion to close the council of the whole.
Offer.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hearing none opposed. Okay, we'll be back for 8 o'clock. Good evening, everyone. Madam Clerk?
This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 10:4-6 et sec, notice of which was sent to the record in the Star Ledger and was posted on the municipal bulletin board.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Here.
Councilmember Pataglia. Councilmember Carroll.
Here.
Mayor LaBrus.
Here. Would everybody please rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have no proclamations or presentations this evening. We have no minutes to approve, so we'll go right to the city manager's report. Vinnie?
Thank you, Mayor. Hackensack will be hosting a townwide shred event Saturday, June 28th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in Johnson Park. The splash pads are now open Saturdays and Sundays from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. They will be open 7 days a week beginning June 30th. The city will be celebrating July 4th beginning at 4 p.m. with food trucks and family activities at Fashini Park. Filet of Soul will be performing at 7:30 p.m., followed by fireworks by Grucci. Hackensack summer events at Atlantic Street Park are back soon with Shakespeare in the Park, movies, yoga, and Friday night concerts. Also, Tuesday night concerts are available on the Green. More information can be found on the city website and our social media outlets. The city will be celebrating Juneteenth on Sunday, June 22nd from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. in Carver Park. There will be a pickleball tournament, giveaways, performances, live music, and more. The state of New Jersey is requiring lead-safe inspections for rental units. Landlords with pre-1978 rental properties located in Hackensack are required to have inspections completed by July 22nd. Landlords can use any company of their choosing as long as compliance is obtained through that company. Please reach out to the building department if you have any questions. That's it, Mayor.
Thank you. Let's go to new business. You ready, Deb?
Oh, Jim, the budget.
Oh, Jim. Jim, you're up. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, tonight we'll be doing the presentation of the 2025 municipal budget. The budget was introduced at the last meeting, and it's scheduled for the public hearing at the next meeting, and assuming we receive state approval, we'll be voting for the adoption. But I'll be doing the presentation tonight, okay? Now, the presentation, like we've done in past, starts with the mission statement. Okay, then we'll get into the budget overview and explain how the budget complies with the mission. And then we'll get into the tax levy change, the projection of the tax bills. And then I want to finish up with just a review of some of the finance policies that we've been adhering to over the last few years and the performance of those. So the mission, as it has been in the past, has always been to improve the quality of life for Hackensack residents by improving or increasing services to the residents without increasing taxes. That's always been the mission of government. Okay? The budget is the administration's financial plan for doing that. Okay? And we start with a goal. And the goal of the budget is always to craft a budget that's accurate, and it continues the financial policies that have achieved our long-term tax stability. I'll have more to say about the financial policies a little bit later, okay, but the budget must provide the funding and the plan for community improvements and infrastructure, redevelopment, and tax relief. And at this point, I just want to stop for a second and talk about those three: community improvements, infrastructure, redevelopment, and tax relief, because those three components of the budget actually benefit the entire community, okay? A lot of people think that it benefits developers, and it doesn't. It benefits the entire community. And to illustrate that, I just want to use an example. The example being the Main Street sewer separation. And when we did the Main Street sewer separation, part of that was creating the Fashini Park stormwater outfall. An outfall is where the stormwater meets the river. And we created a new outfall in Fashini Park where the stormwater then goes into the river. Now, this particular project is definitely an infrastructure improvement. It was designed to accommodate the Main Street development, and it was definitely financed without raising taxes, as all of our sewer and stormwater projects are. But this project benefits the entire community. Okay, for example, by creating this new outfall at Fashini Park, what it does is it now creates a destination for the stormwater that's now being redirected by the Clay Street sewer separation. In other words, we separate the sewers at Clay Street, and now we have a place for that new stormwater to go. It goes to the Hackensack River by way of this new Fashini Park outfall. That alleviates flooding in the Clay Street drainage area, and the residents of that area benefit. When that happens, that takes pressure off the Court Street outfall by moving all the additional stormwater that would have been going to Court Street over to the Fashini outfall. That alleviates flooding in the River Street area. And that's huge because the Court Street outfall serves the whole Hudson Street area and the entire Green Street area. So there's a huge benefit to the community by the Main Street sewer separation, okay? Now, the reason I bring that up is because that's just an example of how these three components, infrastructure, redevelopment, and tax relief, all work together to improve the quality of life for Hackensack residents by increasing service without increasing taxes. Okay, so now back to the budget. The 2025 budget is $132,391,327. This is a spending increase from last year of $1,800,000, which is actually a modest spending increase. It's only 1.4% increase from last year, which you'll see in a second is modest considering what we're up against. Okay? The spending increase of $1.8 million, and once again, just like last year, the number one driver is health benefits and insurance, up from last year, $4.1 million. Not as big an increase as it was last year, but still a huge increase, coupled with another large increase in pensions of $445,000. These two items alone, you'll see that, is $4.5 million. So the entire rest of the budget is down $2.7 million. Or said another way, if it wasn't for health benefits and pension, total spending would have been down $2.75 million. Okay. So what about the spending increase of $1.8 million? Where's that coming from? Well, it starts with salaries. Salaries are the biggest item in the budget. Salaries are up $861,000 from last year, which is 1.8%. Okay, of salaries, if you separate out police and fire salaries are up $1.1 million. That means the entire rest of the city is down $319,000. And we do that through attrition. People retire, people resign, sometimes they're not replaced. Usually what happens is longtime employees with high salaries resign, retire, and they're replaced by lower salaried individuals. Since 2021, the city has added 4 police officers and 5 firefighters. I bring that up because the 5 firefighters have been funded for the last 3 years through the SAFER grant. The SAFER grant expires this year. So next year, we won't have funding from the SAFER grant to pay for those 5 firefighters. Next area is the department other expenses, and this is where we have the most discretion in our spending. And it's up this year 12.5%, and that's really because with the large spending increase last year, this is the area where we cut the most last year. We cut so much last year that we really had to recoup more this year. Okay, so it's up 12.5% or 853,000. Insurance this is the area that's driving all of our spending increases for the last 2 years. Like I said, it's up $4.1 million from last year. The reason for that is that inflation for medical supplies and services continues to run high throughout the entire state of New Jersey. It's not just a Hackensack thing. The New Jersey State Health Benefits Plan, their premiums are up 16% this year. Our health benefits are up 17%. So we're right in line with the rest of the state. Okay. Our workers' comp claims are down 20%. That's good. Our general liability claims are up 20%, which is a little bit deceiving. They're not really up, but if you recall, at the very end of last year, we had a large settlement back in December, which by design we pushed into the 2025 budget. If you look at the graph, though, you'll see from 2018 to 2022, that budget was relatively flat. Okay, we did very, very well for a long time in health benefits. There was a fairly modest increase in 2023, but then in 2024 and 2025, health benefits really took off. Pension is up, as I said, $445,000. Since 2020, our pension bill has gone up by $3.5 million. Okay, so what does that do to taxes? We've got a $1.8 million spending increase, but what does that do for the tax increase? The tax increase this year is only $700,000. That's an increase to the levy of 0.7%. Okay? That means that despite a $1.8 million increase in spending, city taxes are only going to go up $700,000. Okay? What's in the 2025 budget that's different from past years? Well, first is we have an increase in local revenue of over $1 million. That's very good news. Local revenue are things like fees, permits, court fines, interest, things that every municipality has. That's up $1 million. Pilot revenue is up $3 million. Pilot revenue goes up pretty much every year. Pilot revenue is not local revenue because not every municipality has it. In the 2025 budget, we have new revenue coming from the cannabis tax for the first time, and we have new revenue coming from the shared service agreement with the fire dispatch that we have with TNEC. That's a $250,000. 2025 budget also includes funding for new tree plantings citywide that are being paid for with a portion of the new cannabis tax. Also in the 2025 budget, there's a decrease in our sewer disposal bill of $480,000, specifically as a result of our sewer separation. When we separate sewers and we separate stormwater from sanitary waste, two things happen. We prevent sanitary waste from going into the Hackensack River. That's very good news. That's why we're able to get aid from the Department of Environmental Protection. The other thing is we prevent stormwater from being sent to the sewage treatment plant, and we don't have to pay for that. Okay? Like I said, this year we see a savings of $481,000 on our sewage treatment bill. That's also very good news. So what does this do for our tax rate? So we're projecting a tax rate, a municipal tax rate of 1.408, which is a pretty modest increase from last year, which was 1.374. Still less than it was in 2022 and still significantly less than it was 10 years ago from 2015. That's the good news. Okay? The bad news is the tax bill. Okay? Now, make no mistake about it. The tax bills will be high this year. Like I said, on the city side, okay, our taxes, city taxes are going up $700,000 or a 0.7% increase to the city tax levy. The school tax levy is up over 4%. The county tax levy is also up over 4% over 4%. The tax bill is made up of those three levies. So when you compare the tax bill this year to last year, this is what it looks like. Average home in Hackensack is assessed at $321,000. On a home assessed at $321,000, the school taxes will be $4,680. County taxes would be $844. County open space, library, and city open space taxes are fairly minimal. The municipal tax will be $4,523 for a total tax bill of $10,254 on a home assessed at $321,000. How does that compare to last year? Well, last year, school taxes on the average home were $4,410. School taxes on the average home are up $270. County taxes are up $44. County open space, the library, city open space are up very small amounts. City taxes are up $109. Last year, the average tax bill was $9,816. What do all these numbers mean? It means that in 2025, the average home in Hackensack is going to see a projected tax increase of $438. Now, one thing I just want to get across to everybody is that we'll be sending out tax bills at the end of this month, estimates on the third quarter. Those are estimates on the third quarter only. What people should not do is take that estimate and project it out for 4 quarters and think that's their tax bill for the year. A lot of people do that, and that's wrong. That's not what your tax bill will be. You want to know what your tax bill will be? Wait till September when the final tax bill comes out. Okay, the estimated tax bill is not what your 4-quarter tax bill is going to be. Okay, on the municipal side, okay, we've done everything that we can to try and hold the line on taxes. Over the years, we've always done everything that we can to both hold the line on taxes and also try to keep taxes as stable as possible. I said earlier, we've put in a lot of financial policies over the years to do just that. And what I wanted to do is just take a couple of minutes and just review those financial policies. Okay, the first policy is our surplus policy. Now, this is something that we started the first year. Okay, we made it a formal policy in 2018, the first time we went for our accredited upgrade. And the surplus policy says that we want to strive to hold a surplus balance at all times that's between 20 and 25% of our operating budget. Always have surplus, hopefully between 20 and 25% of the operating budget. And the way you do that is you only use as much surplus in the budget as was regenerated the year before. And that's a huge departure from the prior administration. Their policy was to take the surplus that was available and use it in the budget for tax relief. And that sounds great. The problem is that you deplete your surplus. And then the following year, when you don't have the surplus for the budget, it has to be made up somewhere. It gets made up with higher taxes. And then you have a low tax increase one year, and it's followed by a very high tax increase the next year. Okay? Taxes stay high until the surplus is regenerated. When it gets put back into the budget and they come down, then it's gone, and it has to be made up again with high taxes, and you get these high spikes, these highs and lows. And that's exactly what we were trying to avoid. We wanted to stabilize the tax increases, drive them down, and keep them stable. So how do we do with that? Well, 10 years ago, on December 31st, 2014, we had a surplus balance of $1,465,000. December 31st, 2024, we have a surplus balance of $21,876,000, a little bit less than 20% of our operating budget. Okay, we're not quite there, but again, that's a goal. We want to strive to be there, okay? And we've been right about the 20% mark for about the last 5 or 6 years. Okay. Next financial policy is our debt management policy. This policy is important because this is the policy that's allowed us to make all of the infrastructure improvements that we've done over the last 12 years without raising taxes. But I'll be the first to admit, this is a difficult policy to understand. So what I wanted to do is try and explain it. First part of the policy says that decisions to issue debt are based on on tax implications. We'll issue debt only if we can do it without raising taxes to pay the debt back. Now, the previous policy was don't issue debt if it's over 1%. Okay? State allows you to issue debt up to 3.5%. But the prior administration, their policy was don't issue debt if it's more than 1%. Okay? We make decisions based on our ability to issue the debt and pay it back without raising taxes. Another thing is what we do is we record all grants as debt, and then we use those grants to pay to repay the debt. Okay, and that's important. The previous practice wasn't a policy; it was the practice. Was that they didn't issue debt for the grants? They used city funds, which creates a cash flow problem. But and then when the grants came in, the grants went to surplus. Surplus in turn went into the budget. It was depleted, and again, you have these highs and lows of tax increases. Next thing is that we always try to keep the debt service and the deferred charges budgets flat. Okay? We don't want to ever increase taxes to pay for our improvements. In the 2025 budget, the debt service and the deferred charges budget is actually less than it was in 2017 when we enacted this policy. Okay? We don't want to raise taxes to do our improvements. That's what this policy does. And finally, to avoid budget fluctuations, we want to pay off debt as early as possible whenever we can. And how did this policy perform? Well, 10 years ago, our debt percentage was 0.72%. Like I said, prior administration, the policy was keep it below 1%. At the end of last year, our debt percentage was 1.85%. But remember, I said we record all grants as debt. We record all principal forgiveness as debt. So our total debt includes $35.6 million in principal forgiveness. Principal forgiveness, we've talked about it a bunch of times, where a sewer project funded through the I-Bank, we incur the debt, we borrow the money, we do the project, and when it's time to permanently finance, the state forgives a portion of the principal. Do a $10 million project, borrow $10 million, do a $10 million of improvements, and when it's time to pay it back, they say, we'll forgive $3 million of it. Borrow $10 million, pay back $7 million. That $3 million comes right off of our debt. So our debt includes $35.6 million of principal forgiveness and another $37.5 million in grants. Now, grants, unlike principal forgiveness, you don't have to wait for the project to be done. You can start drawing them down immediately. We have a $32 million hazard mitigation grant that the city engineer reports on every week. We started drawing down on that grant just this year. We got our first drawdown in March. We drew down $2.5 million on that. So when you subtract the principal forgiveness and the grants from our debt, which you should, because we're not paying that back, you see our debt percentage is actually 0.89%. That's what should be compared to 10 years ago. That's the correct way of looking at it. Okay? Final policy is the policy on redevelopment. Okay? And redevelopment is important. Okay? the policy being the administration's policy is to encourage redevelopment, to attract business to Hackensack, make Hackensack attractive to bring investment in. Okay, and why do you want to do that? Okay, you want to bring investment in because what it does is it expands the tax base, and if you expand the tax base, taxes get spread out over a larger area, and it brings the tax rate down. Now, why was this needed? This chart shows back in 2007, total valuations, the value of all property in Hackensack was a little under $6.3 billion. Now, 2007 was just before the Great Recession hit. Great Recession hit in 2008. Okay, Great Recession hit. What happened was businesses failed, people were thrown out of work, property values plummeted throughout the entire nation. Now, I studied the effects of the Great Recession on central Bergen County. Not all of Bergen County, it's too big. But I looked at all the municipalities in central Bergen County. And what happened in central Bergen County was the Great Recession lasted, as recessions do, a short period, maybe about 2 years. After about 2 years, roughly somewhere around 2010, municipalities started recovering. Property values started coming up again. Not in Hackensack. Hackensack property values continued to drop. 2011, 2012, other municipalities, property values were coming up. Hackensack, they were continuing to drop. Okay? Businesses were leaving, property values kept dropping. As businesses kept leaving, you had a lot of vacant buildings. The business owners that had vacant buildings decided, in a lot of cases, knock the buildings down. Then you don't have to pay taxes on them. You knock the buildings down, drops your valuations down even more, and now you're left with a lot of vacant property, and property values drop even more. So finally, in 2015, property values dropped down to $4.8 billion. That's a drop of $1.4 billion in 8 years. That's why redevelopment was needed. Okay? You needed to bring in more valuations. You need to bring that number up. And redevelopment is one way of doing that. But when you talk about redevelopment, a lot of people think that when you say redevelopment, everybody thinks that's only pilots. And pilots are, yeah, they're an important part, but pilots are not the entire story. They're not all of redevelopment. Redevelopment is a lot more than just pilots. Redevelopment is making your town more attractive to bring investment in. And as you make your town more attractive, the entire town benefits from that. So among the ways that you do that, or among the ways in Hackensack that you do it, for example, you have the two-way conversion of State Street. Now, the two-way conversion of State Street set the stage for being able to do the two-way conversion of Main Street, which now enhances your downtown, just like the Main Street streetscape enhances your downtown and makes it attractive to businesses. Same idea is going to hold for the pending Anderson Street streetscape. Try and make that attractive to business. Try and bring in more ratables. And also, we've got all the various agreements with the hospital, okay? Because what that does, that brings non-tax revenue in. And the non-tax revenue coming in stabilizes our taxes, which is exactly what businesses want to see. And all property owners benefit from that. You've got the 2015 agreement with the hospital, which is $2,000 a year, $200,000 a year. You've got the 2017 agreement with the hospital, which this year will bring in $450,000 with a 2% escalator every year. You've got the 2018 agreement with the hospital, which was just renewed in 2023. That brings in $4 million a year. There are other agreements that can go on, but all of these things bring in non-tax revenue, which makes the city more attractive to bring businesses in. There's other ways of making the city more attractive. For example, the arts in the downtown, okay? The creation of the Hackensack Performing Arts Center makes the downtown more attractive. The Barbara Newstander Art Gallery, the creation of the Hackback Board to run the Performing Arts Center, the events that we hold in the Atlantic Street Park, Shakespeare in the Park, the concerts, the films, the Atlantic Street Park itself, which is open about 10 years now, okay? The murals on Demarest Street and Bantam Place. All these things are to bring people into the downtown to patronize the business, to try and get more businesses to invest there, okay? If more people come into the downtown, they're also going to need parking improvements, okay? Among the improvements that we did, there was a complete rehabilitation of the Atlantic Street Garage. That was a $3 million project we just finished last year. And right now we're going to be starting replacement of the elevators in the garage. Not only that, we opened the Atlantic Street Garage to the public. That was about 10 years ago. That used to be permit parking only. Now the lower level is open to the public. We replaced all the parking meters in the city, parking meters that accept credit cards. You could use a phone app to pay your parking meters. Again, all of these things to make the downtown more attractive, to bring people in, because it benefits residents, and hopefully what it'll do is it'll attract investors and increase our rateable base. Has it worked? That's the question. Has it worked? So again, if we look at the valuations, you see in 2007, valuations were $6.2 billion. 2015, they dropped to $4.8 billion. And now in 2025, you see valuations have increased by $1.6 billion and are now at $6.5 billion. That's all the new businesses that have come in because of redevelopment. So what's happened with redevelopment? Redevelopment has driven up property values to the tune of $1.6 billion. Property values go up, and like I said, if that's what happens, what should happen is the tax rate should go down. So what about the tax rate? Well, 10 years ago, after our full reassessment, because you always got to measure tax rates after a reassessment, the school tax rate was 1.551. The city tax rate was 1.655. Those were the rates 10 years ago. This year, I'm projecting a school tax rate of 1.457 and a city tax rate of 1.408. I don't know of any other municipality that 10 years later has lower city tax rates and school tax rates, okay? That's also a result of the financial policies that have been in place. The financial policies were designed to increase property values, lower tax rates, and ensure tax stability. Now, what of that stability? Okay, this is my final chart, I promise, okay? This chart shows the increases to the municipal tax levy. The dotted line in the middle is 2015, when the financial policies were enacted, when redevelopment started. You'll see to the left of the line, prior to the financial policies, prior to redevelopment, you'll see the wide fluctuations in taxes that I spoke about. You know, very large increases followed by very sharp declines, followed by very large increases. To the right of the line, okay, after we put our policies into place, okay, we drove the increases down and we put stability in. We tried to make the increases as low as possible. And you'll see 2025 down to our 0.7% increase that we see in 2025. Okay? In short, okay, Mayor, what all this is trying to say is that 12 years later, okay, we're in much better shape financially than we were when you took office. Now remember, I came in about 6 months after you did, okay? And at this point, I just want to take a second, and I really want to thank, from as sincerely as possible, from the bottom of my heart, the Finance Committee, Deputy Mayor Canestrino, Councilman Battaglia, for the commitment, for all the hard work which I've witnessed, day in and day out, for providing a very clear direction, for all the support you've given me, making my job very much easier. Okay, and I sincerely appreciate that. I appreciate it so much. You know this. 2019, I saw the direction the city was going in, so I bought my home in Hackensack. What's happened to my home since then? Well, I'm pretty sure my home has gone up about $100,000 in market value, judging by comparable sales. Okay? That's been the budget. Okay, the public hearing on the budget will be at the next council meeting on the 24th at 8 o'clock. Copies of the budget are available on the city website. They're also available in the city clerk's office. Okay? At that time, I'll be available to answer questions anybody would have. Any member of the public wants to give me a call, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Be happy to answer any questions of the council on the budget right now.
Steph?
Thank you, Jim, so much. You always do every year a great job of explaining in layman's terms everything going on, and I appreciate it because it's a lot of information. But I think that last graph speaks volumes when you look at the history of the tax levy. And I think when there's questions or concerns or criticism about the decisions that are made in the city, specifically with pilots, I think that speaks for itself because, like you said, you want to know what's expected of your taxes. As you're planning a family, you're trying to live, things are very expensive now. You want to know what your taxes are going to be next year. And what you have done and what the Finance Committee and the decisions of this council has done is make that more manageable to know what to expect. When you look at that graph, you see before up and down, that's not a way to live and sustain when you're raising a family in the city or for anybody, for seniors or anyone on a fixed income. So I appreciate all of your hard work because I know you do a lot and it's not easy. And I thank you for explaining everything in a way that is easy to understand for myself as well as for the public.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Of course, Jim, another great job, and I also appreciate all of the years of working together with you and with Leo, on the Finance Committee and on the Budget Committee both. We've come a long way. I mean, you didn't even mention that we have a AA+ credit rating at this point, compared to where we were 12 years ago. It's pretty spectacular. And we were very close to almost a AAA. I know that was your goal.
It was very close.
We were very, very close, and I hope we're not giving up on that, that we could get to that point as well. It's tough, but I think we also have to thank all of our department heads and all of our employees because they all bought into this as well. They saw the direction the city was going. They knew that we were doing zero-based budgeting, okay? We weren't taking last year's budget and just adding inflation to it. No, right? When it came to other expenses, of course, salaries are all negotiated, but all the other expenses, you had to justify, you had to submit to you, and you scrutinized everything with a fine-tooth comb, because I watched you. And, they bought in. They knew that this was the way we were moving forward. We weren't just saying, I got 100,000 last year, so, I want 120 this year. No. Not Jim looking it over. You put what you needed, and you received what you needed. And you managed over the years. I mean, we had to buy 8 garbage trucks, how many fire trucks. I mean, you were able to accomplish that. And, and I want everyone here to understand what he was able to accomplish. That, all of these things were built back up, and they were strategized primarily by your debt management policy. That we planned when we were there was not 1 year to 1 year like you normally see in government. We do 1, 3, 5 year plans. So we know where we are, and we know where we're going. And we know we're going to need that garbage truck, and we're going to need that fire truck. And we're going to find a way to make sure we have it when we can, and when we're not going to hurt our taxpayers. So folks, there's a lot to this, and not only your whole finance department, and of course, as I said, the managers of the department and the employees who all learned and bought into this and saw the benefit of it. They saw, yes, I was getting that new garbage truck. I was getting that fire truck. I'm getting the things I need because I'm following Jim's planning advice. So it goes a long way. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
No question, Jim, working with you almost 12 years, right? And as a team with Kathy and you, I think the city got the benefits. Look at what we are. As a resident of the city for over 50 years, right? I see the changes, I see the improvement. I remember the situation that we got in 2013, that we got like maybe 2 garbage trucks working, then we got 5 trucks that we had to lease. We had to borrow garbage truck from Maywood. And the situation that we got now in the city is wonderful. And thank you for your job. And no question that I'm going to meet you in the meeting with Kathy and Jean, always argument, discussing about finance, but that was my job. I think that I try to do the best I can. Thank you for the residents to trust in us. And I think it will let the city in good shape. Thank you, Jean, and thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
And the rest of the council.
That's right.
Well,
Very
thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for a very thorough report and making it easy for the residents to understand it. And again, keep going with the good work.
Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate that.
So, there's a lot to say here. Take us back to 2012, 13, when we came in, 13, 14. $33 million debt thrown at us.
Oh, yeah.
Our credit rating was in the can. And here we are in 2025 with a AA plus credit rating.
And there were a
Nice.
couple of budget presentations where all you heard was
Yeah.
tax appeal, tax appeal, tax
Yeah,
appeal.
yeah, and we still have to deal with tax appeals, but we have it managed now, so before it was unmanageable. And what you've done is just incredible. To take it from where we were to where we are now certainly isn't what I would call fiscal irresponsibility, which is what people are out there saying. It's farthest thing from it. Other towns wish they had you as their CFO doing the same thing for them, believe me. So I appreciate you and Kathy and Leo on the Finance Committee all these years, all the hard work you've done. It's been stellar. I never have to worry about it because I know you guys are always doing the right thing. And going to miss working with you, but you're in Hackensack now, so you're like a neighbor, right? Just the fact that this man moved to town because he saw what was happening here is a statement in itself. So we'll miss you, but you'll be close by. So thanks for all your hard
Thank you,
work,
ma'am.
Jim.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, so we go to new business. Deb, everybody's good? Nobody needs a break? We're ready to go.
Is anybody going to say something about the budget? Is anybody going
Do we have to open up? We
No.
don't have to open up till
No.
next,
Next
on
meeting.
the next meeting, yeah. So, Resolution 267-25.
This is a resolution for final adoption of ordinance number 21-2025, a bond ordinance providing for various 2025 capital improvements and acquisitions by and in the city of Hackensack, in the county of Bergen, state of New Jersey, appropriating $7,180,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $6,411,70 bonds or notes of the city to finance part of the cost thereof. This ordinance has been published according to law and now calls for a public hearing.
Need a motion to open to the public?
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Anyone from the public who'd like to speak to this ordinance and this ordinance only, please come forward. Seeing no members of the public, motion to close to the public.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Need a motion to adopt this ordinance.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Hackensack and County of Bergen and State of New Jersey that ordinance number 21-2025 has passed its second and final reading and is hereby adopted.
Thank you. Resolution 268-25.
This is a resolution for final adoption of ordinance number 25-2025, an ordinance to amend Chapter 170 of the Code of the City of Hackensack, Vehicles and Traffic, to add Haynes Place, Berry Street, Stanley Place, Second Street, DeWolf Place as resident-only on-street parking areas overnight. This ordinance has been published according to law and now calls for a public hearing.
Need a motion to open to the public.
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Anyone from the public who'd like to speak to this ordinance and this ordinance only, please come forward. Give your name to the clerk.
Good evening, council members, city manager Marlene Somerville. So the paperwork that we received from the police department states that only one sticker per licensed driver. I have multiple vehicles, so when you go down, she'll only give one sticker. So is it possible for us to get more than one per licensed driver in the household?
Sure.
Should be per vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it should be per registered vehicle for the.
Yeah, but the vehicles are all registered to me, so when you go.
But at that address?
Yes.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, she only told me that I could get one.
Who told you that?
The young lady that works downstairs in the department, she
Okay.
said one.
All right,
Worst case, come to our office, I'll write a thing and she'll.
Okay, I appreciate it, thank you.
you're welcome. Yes.
Good evening, Bridget. The letter that was sent out was kind of misleading. Most people didn't understand it. A lot of people talked about, they thought it was about the residential parking stickers. The way it was written out, they didn't it didn't say overnight inside the letter that was put on people's doorsteps. So this is an overnight parking for residents who live within those areas. And this is also about commercial vehicles not being able to be parked on the street. Am I correct?
Well, the commercial vehicles are already covered by a prior ordinance.
Okay, but you still get commercial vehicles in some areas. No, it has it on there, the hours are 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. Right. But I sent you the thing, because remember I told you where the actual original sticker said from 7 to 7, and then people were trying to understand what was the 2 to 6 part. Yeah. That's the part people were trying to understand. So one is overnight, one is gonna be very Okay. nice, and they're gonna put the signs right on top. Right on the top, okay. So just wanted to make sure, because a lot of people thought it was about the parking sticker that everybody already had. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public would like to speak to this?
Somebody.
Go ahead.
She just said, well, I was going to say, I have 2 cars in my house.
Sir, you have to come up to the podium, sorry.
Good evening.
Just give your name to the clerk.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
She just said before, like, I have 2 cars in my house, and the reason why I have 2 cars is because the insurance is a little cheaper for me, but the other car is my wife's car, but it's not registered under her name. So I need to know when we go down there, they say it's only, per license,
Yeah,
it's
we
only
gotta-
one
that's-
car.
We have to speak to them down there because,
So the 10 is.
Is the vehicle registered
To you?
to the address?
Yes.
All right, as long as it's registered to the address, you're fine.
Yeah, but
Okay, it
that's
doesn't
not-
have to be registered to your name. Has to be registered
To the
to
address.
the house. In other words, a resident that was living in there.
But they say they give you 1 sticker per
Yeah,
license.
well, we're gonna take care of that.
Yeah, I appreciate
We'll
that.
take care of that tomorrow.
yeah,
All right, thank you so much.
No problem.
thank you. Ma'am? Good evening.
Good evening, Jacqueline Hyatt, 174 Stanley Place. My question is, I rent a lot of cars, so what about rental? And also it's summertime, people have guests coming in and staying over for, people are coming up and staying over for a week or weekend, or how is that handled in terms of
the norm-
parking
the
for
norm is
rental
handled-
cars or guests?
You
Same
can
thing
call
in
the
Maywood,
police.
if you have somebody staying over or a car, you call the local police department, make note with them.
Give the
They'll-
license plate number,
You give the license plate number and you'll be exempt from
and then you'll be
any
exempt.
fines.
for that
And the same
particular
thing in,
night.
with the rental cars
The
as
rental
well?
car, we have to check on that one.
Will be
Because
the
I think
same.
that was an
When you
issue.
rent a car, how long are you renting it for?
It depends. Sometimes I rent it for a day, sometimes I rent it for a week, sometimes I
Yeah.
rent it for 2 days. It depends.
A rental car is a little tricky one. I don't know
But
how
that
we
one
worked it.
too, for instance, somebody got an accident, I gonna rent a car for.
Yeah,
14
typically,
days
we
or
would give a
whatever.
temporary pass for some,
Right,
a
they should
temporary
get
sticker for
something.
something
That
like
they
There
that.
should be some type of temporary. thing.
Temporary, yeah.
Yeah,
So
temporary permit.
that.
With
Yeah.
something
But
that has
also-
an expiration on it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that would also, you would handle that through the police department as well?
I would
Yeah.
say so.
I would say
Yes.
so.
Okay, and they will be made aware of it?
Well, they will
Yes,
now.
we're gonna take care of that tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Right, Alan?
Thank you. Next person, please.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
My name is Anthony. She touched base a little bit. It's more, for me, it's more about family coming over. You currently have a requirement for 7 a.m. To 7 p.m. for a permit. Now we're requiring a sticker from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. So which means you have an hour of 5 hours you can only park on the street without any kind of sticker or permit. Right? So if I have family that come over, I have family that comes over every single weekend. So for me to call a police department to require a permit or provide a license plate to them every single weekend, it's a little much, I would like to say.
Let me
I think there
ask you
needs
a
to be a
question.
better solution to me having to call a police department whenever I have family coming over to my house to stay over for them not to get a ticket or get towed.
Do you have a
Like, that's
driveway?
just- Yeah, but I have a shared driveway. So regardless of what it is, even if I had a driveway, that shouldn't be the question.
So happy you can put your car in the street because you got the sticker.
Right, so
and
if
the
I have
person
two
that gonna
family
come there
members,
for
then
the
what?
weekend, you can put it in the driveway.
I understand that, but that shouldn't be the case. Fact of the matter is, if, let's say I didn't have a driveway, there's plenty of houses that don't have driveways or don't have garages.
Right.
So they're supposed to call the police department and require license plate number for their friends and family to stay over every single time? Don't you, I think that's a bit of,
A lot of towns do it. Maywood's one, for instance, because there's no overnight parking at all on the street in Maywood.
And better
right,
if you
but this
do.
is, what we're talking about now, permits and
So,
overnight parking.
but what we're,
and- so
I
it's-
understand
it's-
your
we
point, but
keep
what we're
going.
trying to do is resolve the other parking situation where people are parking in people's neighborhoods.
And they don't
For
live
days
there.
I
at a
don't
time
think
and
that that's
taking
gonna
people's
be a
spaces.
solution, so regardless whether people are parking in other people's neighborhoods, we already have a permit that you require for them to
Right.
park in the street, period, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So now we're talking overnight. Now we want another sticker for them to park overnight. So what's the difference? Wouldn't you just get a permit just throughout? Why we need a sticker now and a permit also? And then we're saying we're gonna waive the fee. Is this fee gonna be waived forever, or we just gonna waive it for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? Like, that's how it starts, right? We waive it for 1 year, but next year we start charging, right?
No,
So
right
how is this
now,
gonna
right
work?
now, there's no fee.
Right now, there is no fee, and there's
Right
no
now.
intention of changing that at this point. We had, this mayor and council actually did away with the fee. There used to be a fee, as you just said, but they did away with it, so there is no fee now. And I don't see that changing.
Can we create a different solution, aside from us having to call the police department and ask for permission for our mothers and daughters and kids
The
to come
only-
over and visit us and stay
The
over?
only other solution I can see if we want to keep the parking hours the same as what we're looking at here is some type of situation. If you're having people over, you get temporary tags that you keep in your house, and they would come over, you put the temporary tags on, but they have to come off when the car leaves. In
That's
other
a
words.
solution.
I mean, that's to
Because
me.
right now, you're
That's the
providing
way.
only one registration tag for one sticker per vehicle that's registered to the house.
Yeah.
So like the lady said, she has multiple vehicles, so do I.
Yeah, no,
Like,
we're
not just
allowing,
a-
that's, I think that somebody
As long as the
spoke on
vehicle's
that.
registered to the address, you can
Every
get multiple
car that's
stickers.
registered to that address can have a sticker
And
on
the
it.
temporary would be a
The
solution.
temporaries would just be a solution for,
would get
that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah,
How
we-
else are you gonna solve that?
In Lodi, I used to call them visitor passes.
Visitor.
Easier pass.
So obviously that's something that needs to be talked
You'd
about.
have to apply, you'd have to pick them up, apply for them, get them at the police station.
So that's something that pre-exists already?
No, we'd have to put it in effect. That's the only thing I can think of, though. But that can be amended to this ordinance at another date, and we
Yeah.
can move forward with it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look and see, I'm trying to find the section of the code that lists this to see if there actually might be something built in there already to address this. I'm just trying to find it now, so maybe a couple minutes.
I mean, I think you bring up, a serious concern that honestly, really hasn't been addressed by this ordinance, but that's what this is all about, is, you come here and you bring up an issue and we work to get it fixed. So I think, I'm sure this happens in other towns too, and, maybe we need our attorney to take a look at some other towns' ordinances and see what they do. Maybe they have a better solution even than this. But I think the city manager, I'm speaking for you, we're certainly going to take notes and look into this for you.
Do we want to table this to the next ordinance, since this is the
Well,
final
I mean,
reading?
keep in mind, yeah, I guess, any change of that nature would probably be considered a substantive change. So, I guess we could, so it would probably go back to first reading. So I don't know that we'd be able to adopt it. I found the ordinance. If you give me a second, I just want to look and see. Yeah. Because right now, there's a provision that says, residents of an area designated subsection E, which is the list of places that have residential parking, may contact the Hackensack Police Department through its non-emergency number 201-646-7777 to request advance permission for a guest of the resident to park its vehicle in a residents-only on-street parking area for the sole purposes of visiting the resident in his or her home. The police department shall ordinarily grant such a request unless it determines that traffic and parking conditions at the time of request render it impractical to do so. So that's the exception that we have for, for guests, that you can call the police and the police should grant it. I guess unless, maybe it's a special event in the city and there's just no way to accommodate that. I would also note in the ordinance, because I believe there was a comment, right now, and this was a change that the council put in 2024, it states that no more than one vehicle per licensed driver shall be issued a permit. So, that's a current requirement.
Right,
So,
that's what it says on the
sense,
letter.
yeah.
That's the thing we have to work on.
Yeah,
So those
one
are,
or two people, right?
Right, we understand that.
And I think if people get permitted or permission or a tag for guests to come in, and they shouldn't have to go and request it. If everybody lives in that street, it should be mailed out to them automatically and not create an additional job for us.
Well, it's usually just, you don't have to go there, it's usually just a phone call.
yeah, but
Do they really want to get 1,000 phone calls at the police department to get temporary permits?
Well, I don't know how many, to be honest, I don't know how many times it's happened where people are staying over on the weekend, but I see your point.
Or with
but-
such regularity. I mean, normally it's, once in a while, so you call, that's a normal occurrence. But maybe we should just pull it and work on it some more.
Well, look, this is gonna require, if you're gonna change the way we're going to do it, we would have to introduce the ordinance revisions, because these are significant changes, on the 24th, and you wouldn't be able to adopt at the next meeting.
Then
So I think
we'll
this is
hand it- yeah, we
something
could
that would
hand
have
it
to
off
be left to the
hand
next
it off to the next
administration.
council. Sure, I'm sure they'll address it as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make sense to pass it if we have a lot
Yep.
of changes.
I
Doesn't make
agree.
any sense.
Take it off.
So
Go
we'll-
back to.
But I
the
mean, but
study.
just so what we talk about,
There's two of them.
the sections of the ordinance I'm talking about cover all of the existing residential parking areas, that were established, and we established them from time to time ever since this system got into place, quite a number of years ago. I certainly have not heard from the police department as to, them being overwhelmed with people requesting visitor overnight passes or issues with people needing more permits. Obviously, there's got to be a tracking system, right? Because the whole point of it is, hey, you mail parking permits to every resident or something, and then they give them away or something. They're supposed to be tied to a specific vehicle so that when they drive down, it's not just that there's a permit, but the permit is associated with a registered vehicle. And look, I live in Hoboken. What you need to go through in that town, and by the way, it's like $100 a year for one car, and then if there's a second in a household, it's $200 or $300. That's pretty extreme, certainly compared to the system you have in place. Doesn't mean you might not want to look at it if it's inconveniencing residents, but I can assure you it can get a lot worse.
I understand that, but just because they're not getting overwhelmed phone calls now, it just means that they may have not been enforcing it as much as they should be. Once this takes place and they start enforcing it, then the game changes. So before we get to that level, let's figure out a solution for everybody that everybody's happy with.
That's why we're gonna table it.
Right.
We're gonna
Well, we can
table
just
right
pull
now.
it.
Okay.
You don't have to table this one, you can pull this one.
Pull it, just pull it.
Just pull it.
Pull it
You
out.
also have to
Pull
pull,
it.
there's another one.
Yeah, there's a few on here.
So you want to pull those also?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Anything
right,
that
so-
deals with the same issue. Just do some more.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, let these go through and then just do one specific ordinance that's to visitor parking only. I mean,
what Maywood-
it's up to you,
That's what
but,
Maywood has. Maywood has a separate parking for visitors.
Yeah, but you have to call every time.
You have to call every
You have to
time.
call every time. I think what we're hearing
So-
is we need a different type of solution, so.
Better think about it. For
So do you
now,
wanna-
take it off.
pull this one and the other one, or
Yes.
just?
Well, that's my suggestion.
Yeah, because based on what we're hearing, there's a
All right.
flaw in this, so we
So-
need to fix it. It needs to get fixed, whether it's us or the next council, but it needs to get fixed.
Okay, so we're pulling ordinance 2025, which, and then we're also going to have to, when you get down to it, that's ordinance 31, and it's resolution 274.
And probably the easiest solution might be, for example, we have the provision that says no more than one vehicle per licensed driver shall be issued a permit. Maybe you build an application can be received and the city manager and the parking director can have some discretion.
That's what we do.
Yeah, but you could make that as a
A
specific
full-time
provision.
sticker should have a car that's registered to that address. It should have nothing to do with the driver's license.
Right.
It should be the car.
Absolutely.
I could have 5 cars. My own name, that means I can't park them in my house?
Yeah. I think there's more issues than just that just this. I think
Yeah.
the whole tying it to licensing is confusing. So I think pull it and
Yep.
everybody needs to work on it.
Yeah,
That's
because,
okay.
by listening to the resident, different
Thank you, sir.
situations.
Hello, good evening. I know you guys are pulling it. I just want to give another recommendation.
Sure.
Sure.
Unlike 70% of the homes in my neighborhood, I don't have a driveway. So like any guest I have would need to get like a temporary pass or something like that. And that's unfair for the people that don't have driveways. So we need to like come up with something for people that don't have driveways for the temporary passes, like specifically in the ordinance.
Well, but just to be clear, right now, there's no difference whether you have a driveway or not. If you have an overnight guest, you can call the police department right now and say, I've got an overnight guest in the neighborhood. Obviously, you have to strike the balance between, the reason you have these parking zones is because people were complaining, people who do not live in the area are taking up all the spaces. So you have to strike, and it's a delicate balance to strike in terms of how you ensure that there's enough spaces, so when you come home from work at the end of the day, your neighbors who are having, 20 people overnight aren't taking up all the parking on your street, because that's why this came into place in the first place, is people were complaining that was happening.
Yeah, I understand the intention of it. Yeah, I understand the intention of it, but like, let's say, for example, somebody has a driveway, has 3 cars in their driveway for themselves, and then they could take up, another 2 spaces, whatever, with the ordinance. I can't do any of that. I only have 1 car for myself and 1 car for a guest. Like, there should be some type of solution for people that don't have driveways specifically. I've seen 2 solutions online. One city allowed residents to apply for free guest permits online, valid for up to 3 days for short-term visitors. And then another city had 1 day and annual guest permits for flexibility. Like something like that would be a solution.
I agree.
Instead of just calling the police every time.
I think the online thing is a great possibility.
Something a little bit more automated.
I think we looked, and to be clear, I think we looked at that at the time when this came in, and I think it was sort of, this was a new concept, these parking areas, and I think we looked at it and we didn't really have the capability at the time technologically to have that sort of system. Because again, coming from my personal experience, in Hoboken, there's actually no free guest passes. You pay for them. You can buy them for your guests. But it is all online. It's just the amount of revenue that, gets generated from that is very different from the attitude that's here. But in those places, yes, there are guest pass systems that you can buy online. You can, literally print them out on your printer, and you put them in and you fold them in your car, and you put them right on the dashboard, and they indicate it. But that would require, I think, probably an upgrade of some of our
It's
parking
going to
tech.
involve some serious discussion to come up with the guest.
Yeah.
And you're your own guest because you don't have your own driveway.
Yeah,
Basically,
exactly.
you have a sticker, but,
Mhm.
you're going to need to give us a little time. It needs to be thought
Yeah,
out
so
between
for
us and the
somebody
next
that
council.
doesn't have a driveway, like, I understand that makes sense for revenue, for,
Right.
charging for it, for like people that don't have driveways, give them one free pass for a guest or whatever. Like
Well, we're not charging anything for
Yeah.
this, so we're not
Yeah, there's
looking
no
to
fee. Yeah.
create revenue through this.
I'm
We're
talking
looking
about
to,
if we involve guest passes.
yeah, we're looking to solve the original problem, which
Yeah.
is people parking in residential areas that aren't from that area,
Yeah.
that are taking residential parking away from the people who live there, which is a big problem in the city. This is going,
agree.
I mean, there's so many residential parking areas in Hackensack, it's almost all gonna be residential parking, just for those areas. And, it's problematic. One of the reliefs we have in certain areas, for instance, the hospital's building a new 700-car parking garage. That's going to alleviate all the areas over by Hiller School and, from Kaplan all the way down, because that's where they all park, a lot of them, and in the Prospect area. So we're trying to eliminate a lot of the problems here, but
I just don't want to cause other problems, so we want to
Yeah.
get the correct verbiage to, work for everybody.
And that's key, and I think that's the hardest part, because if we give out unlimited numbers of visitor passes,
Yeah.
then there's not gonna be enough room for the
Yeah, that's what I
residents
was
to
saying,
come home and
one
park.
for like, and especially for people that don't have driveways, just like maybe one visitor's pass, just to come up with a solution for everybody that works.
What I'm saying, it's that delicate balance, and there
Yeah.
seems to be so many cars,
Yeah.
and they run in cycles. We've talked about this before, all of a sudden, you have children that now become driving age, so where you had 2 cars before, maybe now you have 3 cars or 4 cars, and then that changes too. But, we see that, and it's hard to balance and make sure that everybody, when you come home from work, you're still gonna be able to park on your street, and not have to go 3 blocks away. But we'll work, I'm sure the new
It'll get worked
administration
out.
will work on it.
Okay, thank you.
thank
Thanks for
you.
coming.
Thank you for your ideas. All right. Anyone
to
else on
business.
this? Motion to close the public?
Offer.
So we are pulling this.
This one and
Yeah.
31 too, you said, Deb, right?
Yeah, 31, ordinance 31 also, which is resolution
Which is number-
274.
What's the number on it?
Resolution
Eight.
274,
Number
number
8
8.
And 8.
Okay. Got it. All right, so we're moving on to Resolution 269-25.
This is a resolution for final adoption of ordinance number 26-2025, an ordinance to amend Chapter 94 of the Code of the City of Hackensack, gardeners, landscapers, horticulturists, and those engaged in commercial snow removal business to add hang tag requirement. This ordinance has been published according to law and now calls for a public hearing.
Okay, need a motion to open to the public.
Offer.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia. Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Anyone from the public who'd like to speak to this ordinance and this ordinance only, please come forward. Not seeing any members from the public, a motion to close.
Offer.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia. Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Need a motion to adopt this ordinance?
Offer.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Hackensack County of Bergen and State of New Jersey that ordinance number 26-2025 has passed its second and final reading and is hereby adopted.
Thank you. Resolution 270-25.
Say resolution for final adoption of ordinance number 27-2025, an ordinance to repeal and replace Chapter 89 of the Code of the City of Hackensack, flood hazard areas, with a new Chapter 89, flood damage prevention, to comply with updated standards to adopt flood hazard maps, to designate a floodplain administrator, and providing for a severability and an effective date.
Need a motion, please.
Offer.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia. Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Anyone from the public who'd like to speak to this ordinance and this ordinance only, please come forward. Please give your name to the clerk, ma'am.
Okay, Ellen Nimchek, 214 Clinton Place. I just had a question. The administrator, is this some kind of full-time position, or is this going to be hired someone outside? In other words, if they make this plan, is this something temporary?
Who takes over the floodplain administrator?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So, just so everybody understands, this ordinance is required by the state of New Jersey DEP. Every municipality in the state is going to have to adopt this in some form. In this case, the floodplain administrator is going to be the city's construction code official, Ernie Cisco, who is already in place, so this will be an additional responsibility that will be on his shoulders. It's not a new position, no new employee is required to be hired. It will be through his office that it will be managed. I mean, he'll have a designated to do that as well. But we already have this ordinance in place. These are updates that the DEP has asked us to adopt to be consistent with federal requirements, because in order for flood insurance to be available in the city, we have to go through this. So Mr. Cisco's office will oversee that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to speak to this ordinance? Seeing no members of the public, motion to close.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Member Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Need a motion to adopt.
Motion
Offer.
to adopt the ordinance, sorry.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Hackensack, County of Bergen, and State of New Jersey, that ordinance number 27-2025 has passed its second and final reading and is hereby adopted.
Thank you. Resolution 271-25.
This is a resolution for final adoption of ordinance number 28-2025, an ordinance to exceed the calendar year 2025 municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. This ordinance has been published according to law and now calls for a public hearing.
Need a motion to open to the public.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Anyone from the public who'd like to speak to this ordinance and this ordinance only, please come forward. Seeing no members of the public, motion to close.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Need a motion to adopt this ordinance.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Hackensack, County of Bergen, and State of New Jersey, that ordinance number 28-2025 has passed its second and final reading and is hereby adopted.
Thank you. Resolution 272-25.
It's a resolution for final adoption of ordinance number 29-2025, an ordinance fixing and determining municipal class position title and salary ranges for certain contractual and non-contractual officers and employees of the City of Hackensack. This ordinance has been published according to law and now calls for a public hearing.
Need a motion to adopt,
Off-
motion to open to the public, sorry.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Abstain.
Councilmember Carroll.
Abstain.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Anyone from the public who'd like to speak to this ordinance and this ordinance only, please come forward. Seeing no members of the public, a motion to close.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye. Have to say abstain again or what?
Yes.
Abstain.
You have to abstain again.
Councilmember Carroll.
Abstain.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Need a motion to adopt the ordinance, please.
Offer.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Abstain.
Councilmember Carroll.
Abstain.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Hackensack, County of Bergen, and State of New Jersey, that ordinance number 29-2025 has passed its second and final reading and is hereby adopted.
Thank you. Resolution 273-25.
This is a resolution for final adoption of ordinance 30-2025, an ordinance adopting opting into the Garden State C-PACE program to facilitate the financing of C-PACE projects. This ordinance has been published according to law and now calls for a public hearing.
Okay, need a motion to open to the public, please?
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Anyone from the public who'd like to speak to 273-25, please come forward. Seeing no members of the public, motion to close.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Need a motion to adopt the ordinance, please?
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Hackensack County of Bergen and State of New Jersey that ordinance number 30-2025 has passed its second and final reading and is hereby adopted.
Thank you. Resolution 274-25 has been pulled. So we're going to Resolution 275-25.
This is a resolution designating redeveloper and authorizing redevelopment agreement with Essex One Urban Renewal Company LLC for the redevelopment of Block 66, lots 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 38, 41, 43, 45, and 48, 1 Essex Street within the Essex Street redevelopment plan area.
Okay, I need a motion, please.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Do you have anything to read on that?
No.
No, that's a regular resolution.
Okay. Resolution 276-25.
This is a resolution for the introduction of ordinance number 32-2025, an ordinance authorizing financial agreement with Essex One Urban Renewal Company LLC, an urban renewal entity authorized pursuant to the long-term tax exemption law, NJSA 40A:20-1 as SEC for the development of a mixed-use apartment project upon Block 66, lots 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 38, 41, 43, 45, and 48, known as 1 Essex Street.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
No.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance being ordinance 32-2025 is introduced, is now passed on first reading, and that said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on June 24th, 2025, at 8:00 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the City Council, and at such time and place, all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law, with a notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Thank you. Resolution 277-25.
And this is a resolution designating redeveloper and authorizing redevelopment agreement with the Sapphire Urban Renewal LLC for the redevelopment of Block 11214, lots 1, 2, and 3, formerly known as Block 302, lots 1, 2, and 27, which was 132-148 Main Street, within the 132-148 Main Street redevelopment plan area.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 278-25.
This is a resolution for the introduction of ordinance number 33-2025, an ordinance authorizing financial agreement with the Sapphire Urban Renewal LLC, an urban renewal entity authorized pursuant to the long-term tax exemption law, NJSA 40A:20-1 et sec, for the development of a mixed-use apartment project upon Block 11214, lots 1, 2, and 3, formerly known as Block 302, lots 1, 2, and 27, 132-148 Main Street.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
No.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance being ordinance 33-2025 is introduced, is now passed on first reading, and that said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on June 24, 2025, at 8:00 p.m. or as soon thereafter, as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the City Council, and at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law with a notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Thank you. Resolution 279-25.
This is a resolution for the introduction of ordinance number 34-2025, an ordinance authorizing the entry of real estate purchase and sale agreement with the Bergen County Improvement Authority for the sale of Block 205.01, Lot 28, 125 River Street, pursuant to local redevelopment and housing law.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Aye. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance being ordinance 34-2025 is introduced, is now passed on first reading, and that said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on June 24th, 2025, at 8:00 p.m. or as soon thereafter, as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the City Council, and at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law, with a notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Thank you. Resolution 280-25.
This is a resolution for the introduction of ordinance number 35-2025, an ordinance to amend Chapter 175 of the Code of the City of Hackensack zoning and Chapter 170 vehicles and traffic to clarify commercial vehicle parking regulations.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance being ordinance 35-2025 is introduced, is now passed on first reading, and that said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on June 24th, 2025, at 8:00 p.m. or as soon thereafter, as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the City Council, and at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law, with a notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Thank you. Resolution 281-25.
This is a resolution for the authorizing tax refunds for state board judgments, duplicate payments, paid in error, and lien premium.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 282-25.
This is a resolution authorizing the City of Hackensack Tax Collector to prepare and mail estimated tax bills in accordance with PL 1994 C-72.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 283-25.
It's a resolution authorizing accrued time payout of $50,117.84 to retired tax collector Elisa Cuccia.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. Resolution 284-25.
It's a resolution awarding bid contracts for Fashini Park improvements, fields 8, 9, and 10.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 285-25.
This is a resolution authorizing payment of bills.
Need a motion to pay the bills?
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. We're pulling 297-25, correct?
Yes.
And we're also going to pull for vote separately Resolution 287-25, correct? Anybody else have any conflicts or need anything pulled?
No.
On the consent agenda, that's it.
All right, hold on one second, 287 we're pulling. And then the last one, which is 297.
287 is
Okay.
pulled for vote, and the other one's pulled completely.
Okay,
Oh, no, the other one's pulled to vote on separate as well.
yes,
Yes.
287 and 297. The following items are, something else?
No.
Okay. The following items are considered to be routine. Oh, it's like, why are you taking my stuff? What are you looking for? Which one? You got it?
34.
Is there an issue?
279.25.
Oh, we were supposed to pull that one? I missed it?
Yeah, I think that we weren't doing that. So they don't
Oh.
miss it.
I missed it.
297, isn't it? You talking about the-
279.
There were, oh, there was three.
That's the probation.
Yeah, I think we pulled it.
You know, you said it, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's introduced, I mean, you know, we don't have to go up for
Okay.
final adoption. It's
All
just
right.
introduced.
Okay,
Let it go.
I missed it.
I think just
Let
let
it
it
go.
go. We can
I
always,
was surprised to see that, but I didn't know about it.
no.
all right.
All right, so the following items are considered to be routine in nature and will be enacted in one motion. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds. Any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda, and consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes, including any exceptions and/or additions. Resolution 286-25 is a resolution authorizing renewal of liquor licenses for the 2025-2026 license term. Resolution 288-25 is a resolution authorizing and requesting the planning board to undertake a preliminary redevelopment investigation to determine whether Block 66, Lot 41, 60 Candace Street satisfies the criteria for designation as an area in need of redevelopment for non-condemnation purposes. Resolution 289-25 is a resolution authorizing release of escrow funds 250 Essex Street. Resolution 290-25 is a resolution authorizing release of performance bond and safety stabilization bond for 547-555 Main Street. Resolution 291-25 is a resolution authorizing board and commission appointments. Resolution 292-25 is a resolution authorizing a leave of absence for Robert Michael, sanitation worker, from April 17, 2025 to June 16, 2025. Resolution 293-25 is a resolution authorizing cancellation of duplicate bill for 2025 sewer charges to 408-418 Main Street, Block 403, Lot 3, in the amount of $2,205.24. Resolution 294-25 is a resolution authorizing award of non-fair and open contract to J.S. Held LLC. Resolution 295-25 is a resolution authorizing the issuance of requests for proposals for grants management consulting services. And Resolution 296-25 is a resolution authorizing the issuance of requests for proposals for public relations consulting.
Need a motion.
For that.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. So let's go back to,
So now,
it is cold in here.
Yeah, Deb. Allison, can you call somebody? It's freezing.
all right, so now we have Resolution 287-25, which is a resolution approving settlement agreement between City of Hackensack and PBA Local 9A. Need a
Okay.
motion?
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Stay.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Okay, and then Resolution 297-25 is the introduction of ordinance number 36-2025, an ordinance to establish a new Chapter 33 of the Code of the City of Hackensack, project labor agreements for certain public construction contracts within the City of Hackensack.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance being ordinance 36-2025, as introduced, is now passed on first reading, and that said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on June 24th, 2025, at 8:00 p.m. or as soon thereafter, as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the City Council, and at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law with a notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Okay, very good. And with that, I need a motion to open to the public.
Offer.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, none opposed. Any members in the public who'd like to speak, please come forward, give your name to the clerk. You will have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Ellen Nimchek, 214 Clinton Place. I just had a question on 28825, talking about, is that the one that talks about Kansas Street? I just wondered how this came about.
Sure, go ahead, Kat.
This is, there's the,
Senior housing,
the housing authority already has an existing home, apartment structure there on Kansas Street, and they have room behind it to build another structure that would be to build 30 new affordable senior housing units. So this is to take the first steps towards having that accomplished.
So the Housing Authority is requesting this?
Yes, yes, and they're working in conjunction with us. We will take money from our Affordable Housing Trust Fund to help them accomplish this task. And these 30 senior affordable housing units will have a Hackensack preference. So Hackensack seniors will go to the top of the list for this.
And how is this going to help us with taxes?
Well, this is solving an additional problem. In other words, this is solving a problem that we do not have enough senior affordable housing in Hackensack, and the lists are rather long. So the Housing Authority came to the city with this proposal that they had the property and they could now build an additional 30 units. And because of the agreement we have with Fair Share, where we're accomplishing our requirement now, we could allow them to use this and put a Hackensack preference. So it's a win-win. This isn't a financial endeavor for the city. This is an endeavor to provide senior affordable housing with a Hackensack preference.
And they couldn't have used some of the space where all these other apartments are?
This is the Housing Authority that's independent of the city. We felt it was a wonderful request, and it would accomplish a goal that we have, and I think it's a great initiative.
And they don't pay any money towards it, nothing? They just request it and we have to pay for that? Whatever the
We are
additional-
not paying for this as taxpayers. This is, remember, I think we've had this conversation before, the developers contribute money to a trust fund. So we have that money in a trust fund. We will take money from that trust fund to give it to them to provide, that's the purpose of it, to help develop new affordable housing units.
And these other requests that you have pursuant to the tax, looks like there's exemptions that are coming up.
There's 2 projects that are listed here, and this is the first introduction of the ordinance on both of those. If you'd like me to, I can describe them to you. Stop the clock for her, if you would.
Go ahead, stop the clock. Neil?
They stop.
Okay, all right. The first one that was authorized was for a project called 1 Essex Street. This is on the corner of Essex and, I guess you'd call it Hudson Street. You know where Main and Hudson split? Like catty corner from the courthouse. If you think about that, it's an empty land project now. All right, so they will be building 250 units. It'll be a 7-story building. 25 of those 250 units will be affordable housing. And again, because we meet our requirement and our settlement, those 25 affordable units will have a Hackensack preference on it. So in addition to that, the return on the investment for that is currently that space pays $153,000 a year. And once developed, that project will start paying $1.2 million a year. So
When?
We're looking at over $1 million increase in revenue from that project alone.
When?
As soon as the project is developed. They had to get approved, so we're approving, the first step in the approval is tonight, and then in 2 weeks, when we will hopefully approve it, it's an ordinance, and then they will submit a schedule and they will start construction. In addition to that, they also agreed to, one of the things that we wanted to do as a council is bring back the greenhouse. We've had many people in town have asked for that, especially with the garden club. So they are also making a $1 million contribution towards that. That will go into the Open Space Trust Fund. We are hoping that the new administration will use that along with the other $1 million that we secured from the Sears property to start building that greenhouse, because it was something that was greatly desired by many folks in the public. Now, that is only used for open space initiatives, that money that goes into that trust fund, but that will be up to the new administration as to how they choose to use that $2 million.
And the other?
And the other is 132 Main. So, all right, so now if you're looking at the east side corner of Main and Mercer, where the only 14-story building is that was newly developed, all the others are 6 stories. This is directly next to it. It's vacant, pretty much vacant land now. That is a much smaller development. That's only 100 units. It will have retail on the first floor, as every one is required to that faces Main. They're also proposing a rooftop restaurant, which is something we've been trying to get into the city for a while, because again, it will attract visitors to the city. It will have 1 or 2 floors of commercial space in between, and it will have significantly sustainable parking, and that parking will be available for use by patrons of the downtown. So that's a big part of the contribution of that property as well. That property borders what's called Demers Place, if you're familiar with it. It's a walkway from the city, from the bus station, and it brings you up to Main Street and actually could take you all the way to the Atlantic Street Garage towards Hackensack. So they are also providing, at their cost, the improvements to Demers Place. There'll be new benches, new lighting, lots of greenery, right on the building, as well as new trees, et cetera. And they're also proposing to provide that not only on their side of Demers Place, but as long as their neighbor agrees, they will provide it on their side of Demers Place. So they will, one of our other items of interest for us was to bring back to life that walkway. You know, it's kind of dreary now, and people do use public transportation. So they are also doing that in part of this development as well.
Now, didn't you say you had a minimum of
All right,
6
we're
stories?
All right, we can't do this back
We're
and
not
forth.
supposed to be going back and forth
Oh,
this
okay.
much. I
All
thought
right,
you were
that's
just going
fine.
to explain the
Yes.
projects, which she
Yes.
has done.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next person, please.
Good evening, Reverend Carolyn Davis. I want to address my remarks tonight to Deputy Mayor Kathleen Canestrino, since she called out my name at last week's meeting. I want to address something that you stated, that I'm not very happy. You're sorry that I'm not happy with some of the things that have been done. I'm going to address that to you right now. You took one oath, but I took another oath. I'm an ordained minister and a pastor. My oath is to God. I follow Ephesians, the 2nd chapter, the 4th verse, that says, let each of you look not only to his own interests, but to the interests of others. I've heard about everything that's good, everything you've done, not saying it's not good. I'm saying my priorities as a pastor are much different. When I leave this world, I'm going to be asked, what did I do? How did I speak out for people that needed things? I'm not going to be asked how many luxury buildings I built, how many new visitors to the city. I'm going to be asked. And this is my statement. It's not even the work group statement, because they can't even speak this way because none of them are ministers. My role is totally different. So when I come up here to stand, I'm not standing for myself. I'm not even saying I'm standing for the whole community. But I am standing for many people who feel they don't have a voice. And I come to stand for them. I was very happy about my city, my street not being flooded. Yes, Deputy Mayor, I'm very happy that the streets are done and I'm not getting garbage in my basements. I have said that before here publicly. But when I stand here, I stand for things for other people. The stop sign on Railroad and Central Avenue was not for me. I don't live there. But I saw what was happening to people in that area and how it was dangerous. When I came to petition for 2 crossing guards at Central and Railroad, that wasn't for me. I don't have any children. I don't live there. It's because I saw the danger. When I come up here, I come to speak for other people. So what am I not happy about? I'm not happy about the fact that I came to speak for affordable housing. That's what God is going to ask me about. The people who don't have money for luxury apartments. I came to speak for that, have been speaking for that for years. I'm unhappy that it was not looked into until recently. We've been talking about affordable housing for years, and it was not made a priority. That's what I'm unhappy about, because I felt it should have been made a priority. That's one thing. I'm not happy that when a whole audience here of the black community came here very respectfully and sat here for an hour and a half to share their concerns, and you all got up and walked out. Every single one of you. You got up and walked out. They were respectful. I have never come up here and called you a name and disrespected you. I'm not happy about that. I'd like 1 more minute to finish, if I can, because this is my last statement.
Mayor?
Not a full minute, Ms. Davis. Let's make
Oh,
it.
okay, I wasn't happy. You asked me what I'm happy about. Those are the things I'm not happy about. I'm not happy about the fact that there was a situation between a coach and a councilman that I felt could have been handled much differently.
All right, we're not going to rehash those issues.
I'm not
No need
rehashing.
to
She
bring
asked me
this-
what I was unhappy about, so I'm telling her. These are things I'm
All right,
unhappy
so
about.
you can
brought
have
up
a
your one last
conversation about
point.
what you're not
You can
happy
come
with
talk
the
to us
deputy
later.
mayor afterwards.
Okay,
Please.
so just so you know,
There's
my
people
role was
waiting to
different than
speak.
We're
yours.
finished with
Thank
your
you,
minutes.
not happy.
Thank you very much. I
person.
just need to just say one thing. We've been working on affordable housing for years. It took
Years, a lot of
5
years.
years to get a settlement with the affordable housing folks in the state. And we are one of the very few towns that has that and has accomplished that and has a 0 build requirement, which is what's finally enabled us to do Hackensack preferences on certain pieces of property. We've maintained a trust fund of monies that are enabling us to help the Housing Authority to make it possible to put senior affordable housing in and put a Hackensack preference on it. So we are worked very, very diligently to also work with Greater Bergen to have the 24 townhouse-like units put in that are affordable housing. So it takes, I wish that I could tweak my nose and have these things magically appear. What we've learned through the years is it is a very difficult process with affordable housing. Most folks that are building affordable housing have to jump through a lot of hoops to get federal tax credits, state tax credits, and we help them try to accomplish that. And a lot of that is because we have some funding in the trust fund that we can help them. Yet we've had numbers of projects get denied because they could not receive their funding. So I really, and I personally, as the rest of this council has done as well, have worked on these initiatives for years. So it's yes, it takes way more time than I would like it to take, but we have made that much progress, and we will continue to do so.
Next person, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Nancy Royster here. When you began your term in office, you didn't start with a vision. You started with a hit list. From day one, Kathy, you came into City Hall proudly declaring that 2/3 of all employees would be fired. My sister and I were among the first targets, along with many other hardworking, dedicated public servants who had given years of their lives to this city. John, you're not innocent. You're complacent. You didn't run the city. Kathy did. You turned your back on the employees. Rather than leading with integrity, you led with fear. You created an environment where loyalty and experience were treated like liabilities. Instead of valuing the people who had built Hackensack from within, you systematically pushed them out. You hired department heads and supervisors not based on qualifications, but based on whether they would follow your orders without question. And let's be honest, you cannot shift the blame to the city manager. You didn't hire someone to lead, you hired someone to take direction from you. You wanted control, not collaboration. Every decision that harmed this workforce was driven by your own agenda. And as a result, employees lived under constant fear of termination. They were monitored, micromanaged, and made to feel disposable. Many had to take legal action just to protect their right to do their jobs. Others were forced into early retirement, and some just left because they could no longer tolerate the hostility. You didn't just damage careers, you damaged morale. You dismantled a culture of teamwork and pride and replaced it with silence and surveillance. You made it clear that unless you were in the inner circle, your contributions didn't matter. Was it really that difficult to tell them thank you or to recognize someone's work, to simply treat people with dignity? What this council never understood is that our city employees are the heartbeat of Hackensack. We know the residents. We are their family, friends, and neighbors. And the residents saw what was happening, how people were treated, how the workplace changed. They heard the stories. Even the employees you thought were loyal to you, they didn't respect you. They were just surviving. Because when leadership lacks compassion, people notice. You lost this election because you were tone deaf. You lost because people saw who you really are. And now, the residents of Hackensack have spoken, employees have spoken, and the community has spoken. So tonight, let us return your favorite words with the same coldness you showed to so many. Words you used to break people down. You're fired. Karma has a way of catching up, and in Hackensack, it just did.
Two-thirds of them have it in. Sir?
Good evening. Cassine Gaines. I'm here to speak on two municipal ordinances that passed a first read. Ordinance 32, 2025, which was a 30-year tax exemption, and Ordinance 33, 2025, which was a 15-year. And I want to address some points to inspire some reflection before the final meeting of this administration. These ordinances, these pilots, are out of line with the will of the community and, more importantly, your own standards, as they are inconsistent with your past positions. It's been said as recently as 2 weeks ago by Deputy Mayor Canestrino and others that Main Street has never looked better. And that wasn't an offhanded comment. I went back into my files and I found some literature that I received over the course of the last several months that we have revitalized, past tense, Main Street. That we have developers are paying over $100 million, which is interesting because the municipal budget is 132, so I suppose that means that the taxpayers only pay 32 million next year. I'm just kidding, and I suppose you were as well. We have another one here that says that we have a beautiful award-winning brand new Main Street, and this one is my favorite. I don't look good in a hat, but thanks to the LaBrosse team, new buildings can be just 6 stories tall, even though Deputy Mayor just said that there was one that was 14 stories, and the 2 that were on the docket today are 7 stories, and are limited to downtown, even though one is not downtown, and are near public transit, not in existing residential neighborhoods. So I bring all these things up because there's a lot of confusion about pilots, and pilots sometimes are spoken about like they're just alternative forms of payment, as if it's, would you like to pay with cash or credit? That's not what they are. Pilots, as you know, are tools, as you have said, for areas that are blighted. You have said for at least 8 years that Main Street is not a blighted area. What you know, but people may not know, is that 30 years is the maximum that you can give, meaning that the state says that the most blighted area should get 30 years, yet over 50% of the pilots you've given out have been 30 years. Chris Rock has a joke where he says that when you get paid minimum wage by your boss is really saying, I would pay you less, but it's illegal. What you're really saying is, we would give you even more time tax-free if it weren't for the law of New Jersey telling us that that's the max that we can give. And so I think this is incredibly inconsistent with what you have said, but most importantly, this is inconsistent with what you said when you came in 2013. And I'm quoting here from the record. The council-elect team also sent a letter to the mayor and council Wednesday through an attorney asking them to refrain from making or entering into any new contracts, new employment or collective bargaining agreements, personnel changes, or board appointments. And when Mayor LaBrosse was sworn in, just 10 more seconds.
Go ahead.
Thank you. You said, tonight is a new beginning in Hackensack, a chance to stop, look, and listen. We will listen to the citizens of Hackensack. That was from your swearing-in ceremony when you were sworn in. The citizens of Hackensack have spoken loudly. They have spoken clearly. You may think that you are doing people a favor. It is a favor that people do not want, and they have said that by the largest margin in Hackensack electoral history. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next person, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is Ed Mearswa. I live at 11 Brook Street over here in Hackensack. I've been there for almost 13 years. And during the course of the 13 years, paid about, I'd say about $125,000 in property taxes. And it's my wife and I, my mother-in-law, she passed away 4 years ago to this day, actually. And you know, we're just literally book entries on the books. You know, like I said, paid about $125,000 in taxes, and my eyeball estimate probably cost the town maybe $25,000 for the pro-rata share of being a citizen of Hackensack. So the town has $100,000 in the community chest or thereabout. And so, you know, a month ago, I became a victim of identity theft by duping. That was bad enough. And I went through my business with the FTC, and the next step was to file a police report. I tried on several occasions, and there was nobody home to take care of that. Is this a work from home program or something that the officer in the back is working from home? Meanwhile, in the parking lot, they're all campaigning, yay, 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 new slate. But they can't take care of their core business? And then furthermore, when I got jerked around the way I did, I filed a tort claim notice, complied with Title 59, Section 8, all the way through, especially paying attention to Section 6. And that's the part that says what municipalities can ask beyond the 6 main points that constitute the New Jersey tort claim law. And the nerve of the city clerk to send me a letter that it's non-conforming because it's not on the official form, that was another insult, a cheap shot. You know, here, just take this packet and go away and get lost because it's above your head. No, it's not, ma'am. And I suggest that you tell it to the judge when it comes up. It's already got a federal docket number. I moved it past the friendly Superior Court here in New Jersey because, you know, they too were goofing off with the docket there. They didn't want to give me a show cause hearing to force the police department. Oh, thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir. Next person? Seeing no member from the public, I need a motion to close to the public.
Offer.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. I just wanted to start off by congratulating all of our police officers that were promoted tonight. On tonight's agenda, we actually got to approve the bid contract for Phase 1 of Fishini Park. This has been one of my goals when I joined council about 8 years ago, when I was elected to council, and it's been a long time coming. There's been EPA battles, Bald Eagle battles, DEP, all different issues, different ideas of what it should look like. So it's been a long time, but I'm very happy that I was able to vote on it and that it'll come to fruition hopefully. So Fields 8, 9, and 10 will be enjoyed by many generations of softball and baseball players to come. The kids of this town and all athletes deserve a facility like that, turf, lighting, so they can get better and they have more access to fields. Right now, when it rains, you can't get on the fields for, sometimes a week. So this will be a great improvement to Fishini Park, and I'm very excited to see it come to fruition. Thanks again to Jim and the whole finance committee for all their work with the budget, and again for explaining it in a way that's very understandable. I know that affordable housing keeps coming up, but I think it's worth mentioning that, yes, it does take a long time, but the fact that we have a Hackensack preference is huge. You know, you see some of these other projects in other towns where, you know, you build it in your own town, your own city, and it's open to people throughout the county, sometimes multiple counties, so the people here don't even benefit from it. So, yes, it was, you know, a lot of work and a long time coming, but that is huge, that we have a preference to our own residents. Not a lot of towns can say that, so I think we should all be proud of that and very happy. And that's it. Thank you all for coming out, and have a great night.
Thanks, Steph. It was a pleasure tonight and during the Committee of the Whole to have 3 police officers promoted up through the ranks, and I think it's a testament to the work that our new police chief, Mike Antista, is doing, and I think he's devoted a lot of time to prioritizing and doing some reorganization within the police department, and I think well-deserved among those men, and it was a pleasure to be part of that. Of course, you know, thanks to Jim, again, a wonderful presentation on the budget. I'm always happy to be part of what we do financially here in the city, as working together with Councilman Battaglia as well. We know it's tough times. We know health insurance is affecting everyone, not just cities and towns throughout the state, but everyone on an individual level. We all know if we have health insurance, we've seen those costs and those prices rise. So it's something we have to be able to deal with in the city, and I think getting everyone to work together to have it come together is quite remarkable. I have no idea where Ms. Woos gets her numbers from, but I certainly never said anything about firing 2/3 of the people in the city. I never said anything about firing anyone in the city. Of course, as you go through and you make progress and efficiency is looked at, there was a department that was closed, and that was unfortunate. But those are hard decisions at times that folks have to make when you're in government. You have to look at costs, you have to look at duplication of efforts. With a county seat, we have the ability to do shared services with the county. That helps us. We lose tax dollars because we have so many county buildings in our town. So if we can take advantage of shared services with them, I think that it's something that any council should definitely be looking at and exploring to help control some of the costs. So yes, that some of that did happen. But wherever you got your numbers from, I have absolutely no idea. I spoke highly of the city departments and the department heads and the personnel as part of the budget process. And I think we've come a long way in having folks understand their roles here. When we came into office, I was very surprised to learn no one had ever had a performance review. And, you know, we asked folks, do a self-review. So many folks had no idea what to write on that piece of paper. So yes, there were changes, and there were changes to help people, and many of the people in the city, many of the employees have said, I walk out of here and I feel good about myself because I understand my role and I'm able to perform it well. So I may have to definitely show there's 2 sides to every story, and as you had yours, Ms. Woost, I have mine. And we're both entitled to have that. Thank you all for coming. I think we have work to do definitely on it's always this whole parking issue is a real problem. I wish the new administration well in trying to come up with a solution, but I'll give you a heads up, you know, it's tough. It's tough because the way some of the houses are, yes, some of them don't have driveways, some of them have more cars than was ever anticipated, and it's very frustrating to come home from work at the end of the day and not be able to find a place to park. So I think, you know, hopefully put yourselves, you know, in a good position, take a look at other towns and how they're handling some of this, and I'm sure you'll come up with a wonderful solution that we just didn't get to that particular point in time. Everyone have a nice evening. I think warm weather is on the way. I hope that summer is coming. We've had some pretty incredible weather back and forth over the past few weeks. Have a good night.
Leo?
Congratulations again to the police officers, and thank you again, Jim, for your report. And Mrs. Carol David, when she's talking about the problem with the coach, one of the reasons the problem started when they asked me to try to get involved with the recreation department and the travel group. And I did it, and there was a success for the recreation group, but I was not happy with what I know about the travel team. And anybody that wants, I can give you a copy of whatever they report to the IRS. In 2019, they report $194,000. So they were charging a lot of money to the kids. From 2017 to 2022, 764,000. And that was reported by the group. That means the Royal Group, the traveler thing, okay? So I always coach the kids in the city of Hackensack, and many of these kids now, they got 52-year-old. One is the guy that was the coach for the United States last year, and I never charged a penny. Money out of my pocket to travel with the kids for gasoline, tolls, pizza parties, or whatever. Never charged a penny. So where did these people charge $764,000 in 5 years? Take that to the Carol Davis to him. Okay? So that's it. I don't want to hear. I am talking right now. I don't listen. I let you talk when you were talking.
Miss Davis.
Okay? So
Miss Davis, you had your chance to speak. It's Mr.
okay?
Taglia's chance
So,
to speak.
to me, the whole thing was a political move, right? And I thank you to the residents that support me all this year. I think I did the best I can, and I think we led the city in good shape. Thank you and good night. Thank you for coming, guys.
Thank you. Miss Davis, please. Thank you. Mr. Carroll.
Well, first of all, good evening. I'd like to start off by thanking Jim for a nice presentation, and congratulations to the officers that got their promotion. I believe Lieutenant Luis Dominguez is our first
6'8".
that too.
Guy's tall.
Dominican American lieutenant. I think he's our first one in the history of our police department, so he deserves congratulations on that. And with that aside, I do have something I'd like to state here. I was honored 4 years ago when I was asked by John to run on his ticket for city council. I have known John for over 30 years and considered him a friend until he believed a blatant lie told to him by Kathy, our deputy mayor. He wasn't man enough to confront me or ask my side of the story. Kathy, all we know, is a liar, and she's also known to me to be a racist. One example is while campaigning 4 years ago in the 3rd Ward section of Hackensack, which is considered part of the black community, she did not want to go to campaign there because, quote, these people don't vote for us anyway. Stephanie, I had your back and defended you several times about your supposed racial comments, but I was very disappointed and angry when I overheard you tell Kathy, quote, I can't wait to get out of this city. This is a city that you often refer to as a great city, the same city who just recently honored you for the things you have done. Leo, your racist statement and arrogance about it had you believing you were untouchable like the rest. Well, you were wrong. You should have been a man and stood behind your word that you're going to resign. But what does John and Kathy do instead of helping you resign? They honored you with the groundbreaking of the dome. What a joke. Also, I like to say, I have never heard so many lies, cover-ups, sweeping things under the carpet by this team. I am glad that I was removed from your ticket and didn't have to suffer such an embarrassing loss in this past election. I would never have ran on your ticket anyway. And just think, part of your campaign slogan was honest government. Another joke. My last point is 4 years ago, I sat here, listened to individuals approach the mic and accuse certain council members of being racist. These individuals were people of color. They were met with banging of the gavel, defensive retaliations from their accused council members by trying to defend themselves from the said allegations. But yet, at the last council meeting, an individual approached the mic and called all but myself racist. This individual was not a person of color, but not one of the 4 council members sitting here attempted to defend themselves of being called a racist. Maybe finally they accepted what they truly are. I would like to thank everyone who has attended this meeting tonight, physically and remotely. Take care and get home safe. God bless.
Thank you. Are we ready? So, I too want to congratulate our 3 police officers who received promotions tonight. It's a great honor. It's always good to see them move up the ladder, and I wish them the best of luck. Jim Mangan, can't say enough about you. You've always been there. To touch on something you said before, you're always available to citizens at any time. You're always ready to answer, and we know even when you're really busy, you'll take the time out to make sure you help somebody with a problem. I'm glad we're moving forward with the Fashini Park and the Johnson Park projects. They're well needed. Fashini Park, with the flooding and all the new fields going in, is going to be a great addition. Summer concert series is coming up. Multiple concerts. I believe we have 6 or 7 on the green, and 6 at Atlantic Street Park. And last but not least, the 2 buildings we approved tonight, I'm glad they're going up, especially 1 Essex in particular, because of their 25 affordable housing units, which will be residential preference for City of Hackensack residents. That's huge. And for the Sapphire, which is going to be an addition to the brick and part of the brick with beautiful amenities, and it will be an improvement to the city. Yeah, that lot's been empty for a while. I call that blight. When you see lots empty for years, to me, that's blight. City still has the ways to go. You guys will find out when you take over. I wish you the best of luck. Mr. Carroll, I couldn't possibly disagree with you more on your comments, and I find it highly strange that all these new facts that you've been holding on to came to light now. Yes, you've mentioned things in the past and hinted at. I challenge anybody here to come out with a fact on where all my racism is. I coached in this town. I've given this town 16 plus, over 32 years of pretty much volunteer service, except for the stipend I've received as a councilman or a mayor, all right? Mentoring and coaching children of all colors, never asking, having people, young kids who might have a problem at home, staying at my house, all colors, doesn't matter. I'm not here, I don't, to do all that, and then, the race card comes out all the time, and it gets old. And that's sometimes why a gavel comes out, right? Because you just don't want to hear what I feel to be nonsense. And I always looked at it like this. We're not like that in Hackensack, all right? And I've seen more racism in the last year, going both ways, like a year or two, than I've ever seen. You made a comment about Stephanie von Rudenberg. Well, did you ever ask why she might be leaving town? The abuse this young woman woman's children have taken in our school system, all right, has been ridiculous. Reported over and over and over again, yet never dealt with. Never dealt with. Racism is not a one-way street. Not anymore. It was for a long time, and it was wrong. But now it's rearing its ugly head all over again, all right? Especially for political gain. And I think it's quite disgusting. But you can all now rewrite new notes for the next meeting to attack us on what I've said tonight. Really, 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 really concerning. And I am ashamed that it's showing its face in this city, because we are better than that in this town. And if you want to keep doing it, keep doing it. But at the end of the day, I know who I am, all right? I know what I've done. I know how this city has changed. If you're going to sit there and tell me, like you told me in your literature, how this city is worse off today than it was when we took over, all right, then you are the one with the problem, not me, because I can't find anybody coming up to me and say, oh, your city really stinks, all right? Just Hackensack Unites in there, folks, all right? Not coming from anywhere else.
4,509.
Yeah. You're right, you're right. I'm going to give you credit for a good, well-run campaign. That's what you did, all right? Yep. Yes. You can think what you want, sir. Anyway, with that, I'm going to wish everybody a safe trip home, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Offer.
Thank you.
All in favor?
All in favor? Aye.